Ladies and gents, is everyone in? Are we here? Did this actually work? It's hard to say. This has been a complete nightmare. Yeah, we're not gonna do the original David Icke. Someone sent me a documentary called Sirius, and I flipped through it, and well, holy shit. I just couldn't stop. I absolutely had to. And I've got that all queued up, so this ought to be good. And I think we can lose the ambient alien music. I think. I may be wrong, but I think that should be fine. Get rid of all those in the background. And we're gonna bring this bad boy up. Et voila! We begin. Time to adjust. Get comfortable. And enjoy this painful masterpiece for what it is. Serious disclosure.
Hello, I'm Dr. Stephen Greer, founder of the Disclosure Project and the creator of the film
Greer.
Sirius. And I'd like to make a wonderful announcement that all of you have been waiting for. The film Sirius, which went to one of the most watched and top picks on Netflix in the past year.
That's never a good sign, by the way. If it's on the top picks for documentaries on Netflix, you're in trouble. Hi, Courtney.
And has been seen by millions of people around the world. We are now releasing on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/sdisclosure.
Yeah, that's where I got this.
In its entirety, and it can be seen for free. And we're doing this because we want the public to see the last crowdfunded film we did, and we'll have that as a foundation for education for anyone who wants to see it. But also to
We gotta get to the truth, y'all.
introduce the next film, and that is this documentary feature film called Unacknowledged, an expose of the greatest secret in human history.
Fantastic.
And it will have a book that goes with the film and will be launched with a massive disclosure event and celebration and concert. We want everyone to be able to see this film, but we would also like, if you can, to contribute to the crowdfunding campaign.
Oh, so this is an hour and 40-minute long film that's basically an advertisement for their crowdfunding source? That's good.
Not only in contributing your network and networking with friends and other organizations, but also how you can contribute, even if it's just a few dollars, to this campaign, so that we have enough resources to do this next project, which is a campaign that ends illegal secrecy on UFOs and free energy once and for all.
Oh yeah, the illegal secrecy on alien life and free energy that Hillary Clinton promised to tell us about. That's why they're taking her out, don't you know? She promised to investigate Area 51.
It is not just this one film and book that is going to be supported, but a whole initiative that goes on into the future. So enjoy the movie, Sirius. Many of you have seen it, many have not.
I
hope that
I'm
you can also
completely fresh
support
to
us in this next project, Unacknowledged. Thank you very much.
I don't know if this was a mistake or what. It got sent to me. I flipped through it, but I have to see it. Good beep. You're gonna fill that screen in, right? No, it's gonna get smaller. Never-ending light. Infinite energy. Surely this is within our grasp, if only they would tell us the truth. Wait, is this gonna stay this small? Why? Yeah, but why though? Come on. There we go. Okay, why would you do your intro like that? How fucking goofy. The Performing Arts Center College, okay. I'm sure we're gonna learn something here. Based on the book. Oh yeah, it's Stephen Greer's book. Okay, so this is his video based on his book. Okay. I don't think we need to do the credits, but I'll just let it roll in Mystery Science Theater fashion. They're trying to make it creepy, but it's just a college campus. Mind you, this is not a new thing, being obsessed with Sirius and thinking that it's sending us messages. This has been around since quite a while. Boom. 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 Did you just metal detect people coming in to meet the alien nuts? It's the Sirius
Most
lecture
people don't
event.
know what a dead man's trigger is. And even fewer need one.
Okay, why are we
Dead
discussing
man's
dead
trigger
men's
is a
triggers?
safety valve.
Yeah, but why?
For reasons of security, a person prepares a recourse of such severe
FYI,
action
FYI, I've checked this on several instances. The echo is in the original.
that if harmed, they will release a cache of damaging evidence against those enemies.
Yeah, but if those enemies are aliens, you should do that
In this
anyway.
situation,
Even if it's your own death,
Dr.
right?
Stephen Greer is one of those rare men.
But why would he not release it now? I mean, if it's really that big a deal, he could just, like, fucking release it.
Why would
Imagine.
he need one? He's not the first person to push the disclosure of a corrupt military-industrial agenda.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Yes, okay, we're gonna
His
use
final
that quote
public
forever
speech,
for everything.
farewell
aren't we?
address, Nolan. In a time when every second on TV was priceless, United States President Dwight D. Eisenhower decided not to brag about his victory in the Korean War. Instead, he cashed in all his chips to warn this nation of a hidden enemy.
Well, then why don't
We
you?
have been compelled
Yeah,
to
well, why don't
create
you,
a
though?
permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is
Spiritual
felt in
influence.
every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications.
When I was with Lawrence Rockefeller at his ranch in 1993, he turned to me and he said, the implications of this are so vast and so profound
The
that
Rockefeller
no
Ranch.
aspect of life on Earth will be unchanged by its disclosure. I said, yes, Lawrence, that's why it's been kept secret. It's not because it's trivial. It's because the implications are so profound. So
Well,
there have
naturally.
been attempts to bring this information out for over 60 years. And here
since
we
day
sit
one.
in 2012 with the world still burning oil and gas and coal, when we have had technologies, sciences, and all the information we need to have had a completely new civilization.
What Eisenhower
I mean, I hope
about
he's right.
over
That'd be
60
kind of
years
neat if he
ago,
was, but
according
I'm
to
not.
Steve Greer,
I'm not
has
really buying
long
it.
become truth in Washington, D.C.
Voice music, Q107, driving home with the Spearman. Hello, what are people all over D.C. saying about all this money?
Sick radio DJ.
And why is Washington, D.C. booming? Because the rest of the country is sending their money here.
No shit, except for the bad parts of Washington, D.C. that
My
aren't
name's Ted
booming.
Lohner. I've been working with CSETI program and Dr. Greer for 15 years.
Cool, huh? Yeah.
One always wonders if the public really knew what was going on with government covert programs and how much money has been put into it.
See, we're gonna start
like
here,
hundreds of
which makes
billions of
sense,
dollars,
and we're gonna
I
end
think
with
the
so
public would be
aliens.
A little annoyed.
It's like Ike. This
Thomas
is just like David
Jefferson.
Icke.
Believed all men have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Well, all men of a
The
certain
government
character.
they formed would serve to secure those rights.
For
But
most
when
people.
corporations or other specialized groups of men become more powerful than those
How
who
did we
govern,
end up here already?
our security.
This escalated way
Is at
faster
stake.
than I intended it to.
Thomas Jefferson wrote about unchecked power of the corporation being a threat to the democracy and the banks.
You see,
Oh, here we go.
the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank
Of course.
issues every dollar bill.
It does.
Yet it is not run by the U.S. government
It is not.
or any elected official.
Conspiracy nuts love this angle.
It is owned by a private banking cartel.
But here
It
I
is.
find a chairman of the Federal Reserve who's in charge of the dollar, in charge of the money, in charge of what the money supply is
Yes,
going
but
to be.
who's in charge of the
middle
banks?
class is being wiped out, and nobody's understanding that it has to do with the value of money. Prices are going up. So how are you able to defend this policy of deliberate depreciation of our money?
A lot of it depends on what happens to the price of oil.
The four horsemen, or families of banking, who own and run the Federal Reserve,
The four horsemen of
also run
banking.
the four largest oil companies.
That's not
Oil is
surprising.
also used to make and run machinery and current mechanical technology.
It's also the basis
Of course,
for the dollar?
There's
or-
one industry that needs these more than anyone else: the military industrial complex.
You begin to get into this very scary scenario that has to do with the human condition of the proclivity to accumulate vast amounts of power around a handful of people.
All right, sit down and shut up.
And right now, these misanthropic sociopaths are
Yes,
running
the
planet
Jews
into
are
the ground.
aliens. David Icke, if you watch him, you realize
Congress
he's just
or
saying
whatever
Jews.
else, their budget directors say, well, we've lost $100 billion.
Oh,
in
wow,
one
that's much
program.
louder than
what
I
does
am.
the public do? What can the public
Time to
do?
crank that way the
We
fuck
can
down.
Complain to our congressman, but our congressman can't get any information.
With lobbyists, interest groups,
Mhm.
campaign funding, the economic powers that
Yes.
be have learned.
Okay,
to control
I'm fine with
the
this.
political
I'm
sphere.
fine with this. We're fine. Money and politics, all right. We can have a discussion. But
And
this
they
is
don't
gonna
realize
lead
that
to
if they
aliens.
Get into the White House or into the Senate Intelligence Committee. It doesn't matter who the president is. They're going to do what they want to do.
And that which is good for them isn't always good for everybody else.
Okay. What was last week? The
From
end.
1945 to 1998, 2,053 nuclear bombs exploded on this planet.
Sick.
The United States detonated over half of them.
We're trying to test to see if we can raise the temperature of the Earth so the reptiles and insect aliens can inhabit it.
First
Obviously.
nuclear bomb was exploded in
Fucking
Trinity.
everyone knows this.
Robert Oppenheimer, one of the founding fathers of the nuclear age, said, "We have done this before."
It could have been that Oppenheimer was speaking about weapons described in the ancient Sanskrit texts like the Mahabharata.
In which they refer to a bolt of iron charged with the light of 1,000 suns. This bolt of iron was hurled in anger and led to an explosive event which is very graphically described in this
Holy
religious scripture,
shit.
specifically showing all the key indications of radiation sickness
Uh-huh.
and the various problems with nuclear weaponry that we've come to expect.
When we started detonating
Fallout was right.
thermonuclear weapons, atomic weapons, and developing these sort of destructive technologies,
That's when the aliens
civilizations that
came.
have been watching this planet for
Yeah.
millennia said, "Oh my God,
What have we done?
these people are going way off the reservation. They are
Yeah.
now an existential threat to themselves,
So?
but also to other planets."
But we're not, though. We're
All
not.
over the world,
We're deeply not.
We see very conclusive evidence that ancient people were in contact with extraterrestrial life.
Oh God, we're already here.
The Japanese said that their civilization
How
was
did this
given to
happen
them
so quickly?
by a people they called the Dogu, who came from what they described as Anemono Torebune.
How did this happen so quickly? We're already here and we're 13 minutes in.
Which translates as bird boat universe, meaning flying boats from the universe.
The ancient Sanskrit writings of India have elaborate descriptions of Vimanas.
Oh, here we go.
Craft.
Yeah.
These texts are thousands of years old. They predate any conception.
Wait till the race realists get a hold of this and start dictating what races or what types of aliens, like I started
Evidence is
saying.
not just found in ancient
It's
texts.
pretty good.
It is also captured in our ancestors' art, as if it was plainly obvious that ET vehicles appeared in ancient skies.
Well, of course. Yeah, I know Eric von Dyken.
It is a foregone conclusion by most broad-minded people that we are not alone in this universe. The question is, how close are they?
Extremely
We all looked
close.
up at once. It was almost like an intelligence told us, "Hey, look over here. We're here."
We were told to look even. Yeah, there's that.
In a triangle almost directly overhead.
I saw these things and I ran inside and got my brothers and sisters.
That's fine. I don't see
It
what
actually
this
lifted
proves,
up,
though.
and it could actually turn.
I'm gonna ask you to look away. I love my hands, but
I wasn't one who believed that UFOs might exist. I was satisfied they existed.
the life I have isn't what I'd seen.
They estimated 100 yards from the left
Jesus.
wing was this 100-foot disc.
Okay, this is good. It not only proves aliens, but proves a government conspiracy covering up an infinite power supply as derived from a crashed alien ship.
A lot of the astronauts are told to keep it quiet.
So,
and they're
yeah.
good Americans too. They develop the film from the moon, everything that's done by NASA.
Yeah, they know. The astronauts know. They've just been told better.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.
No, Jawa. Send me another one. I missed the Ring of Power one.
This is our signature tones that we broadcast.
Butterfast.
All small walkie-talkie. They were recorded in the crop circle. What
Sure.
happens is the extraterrestrials, they come into the area where we vector them in with the signature tones that we broadcast. Then it enables them to home in and get a real good fix on where the site is where while we're setting up.
The whole concept
Okay, if we're back, I am for sure not going... I'm going to go to the new one. Yeah, I'm going to go to the new one. I have no faith in this whatsoever any longer. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the one Jawa just dumped. It's pretty funny, and hopefully it won't get DMCA'd. I'm going to have to ride it straight through YouTube, and we'll see how much of the 26% or 26 episodes we're going to get through. But I'm not going to keep trying these guys' patience. They already slapped me pretty good. The name of this is Sirius. It's the one I told you about. It's called Sirius. It's easy enough. But yeah, this is done. I am going to close this window. Goodbye. And we are going to go to a new one. No problem. No problem at all. Not a problem. We'll just do this the hard way. Okay, I don't know why you're doing that. I for sure didn't ask for that. Thank you. They just advertised to you guys. Sorry about that. I have absolutely no idea how it would do that. I assure you that we will get this. I just have to figure out how to capture this. For some reason it doesn't want to let me see the YouTube video. You could do this. Okay. It's still not showing it for some reason. But you can hear it, right?
Heroes.
Yeah, you guys can for sure hear it. How odd. The hell's going on here? I'm fucking up my my live stream. That's what's going on here. Mostly just that. I mean, it's pretty basic. Screw it. We're gonna do this the sloppy way. No, that's not gonna work either. God damn it. Yeah, display capture for sure isn't gonna work. Just fucking capture the window, you dick. Why won't you do it? Why won't you do it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just taking the kiddos out for lunch. Yeah, we're hitting the CC's buff. Hey!
Investigators knew nothing. How did they identify?
And we're back. We should be good now. I should be able to just do this without a problem. Hopefully everything should be fine. And we're good. Should be fine. We should be good here. Whoa! Brilliant. Let's bring it on back. Yeah, I had this all sized out for the other one, but not this one. So we're just gonna have to roll with the punches on this one. There we go. We're good? Everyone? Give me a good shout out in the chat if everything's good. Alright, we're going. That'll be a good time to size it, I suppose. Oh, it's an old school movie, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. You get to enjoy the alien on the side.
The
It's
911
fine.
attack on America looked
Everything's
so
fine.
much like a formula action-packed Hollywood disaster movie that it had "Made in the USA" written all over it. The only difference is it used real props and real people. It had
Sweet.
terrorist villains, American firefighter heroes, fireball explosions, collapsing buildings, pedestrians chased by dust clouds, and it even had a God Bless America music score. Well-positioned cameras shot
Okay, it's a 9/11 doc apparently.
the action-packed drama from every conceivable angle.
Just the picture of the helicopter landing and the president walking in, and then the
19 hijackers had been Saudi nationals. So in the terrible...
He said that he didn't believe that Osama bin Laden... No one has blamed or accused him formally.
This guy's recording his actual television. You can hear it in the audio. Holy shit, that's bad. Holy shit, that's bad.
Knew that how many people worked in the building. City is confirming that some 265 firefighters are believed.
None of us will ever forget this day.
People who knock these buildings down will hear all of it soon.
Says America Remembers, Sunday, 8th.
The timing,
What is that
the
audio
title, and the
even?
eerie advertisement for Harvey Weinstein's Lord of the Rings movie called The Two Towers was a prophetic and disturbing coincidence. Profits from the Two Towers movie were small change compared to the 911 reality disaster movie, which has become the world's top-grossing production of all time.
Okay.
The only thing missing are the 911 producer, writer, and director credits. But it doesn't take an Enron accountant to figure out who's cashing in. During the first week, the 911
Obviously.
producers made a spectacular fortune just on the stock market alone.
Yeah, they
How?
bombed the towers
By
to make
knowing in
money.
advance that the stocks and airline and insurance companies associated with the 911 crash
Mhm.
would fall in value. Using that inside information, they made negative bets on the stock market called put options. Put options are bets that a certain stock will fall in value by a certain date. It's big risk gambling, unless you've got inside information that can turn your bet into a sure thing. But that's illegal if you get caught at it. Put
Yeah.
option bets on the decline in 911 related airline and insurance stocks skyrocketed by a whopping 600%
Holy
just
shit.
before 911, which means that somebody knew about the attacks before they happened. Who exactly were
Or
those
people got
somebodies?
lucky, which happens
Merrill
all the
Lynch and
time.
HSBC, Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, the Bank of America, weapons manufacturer Raytheon, the Lehman Brothers, General Motors, Swiss Re, Munich Re, and AXA Re Insurance Company, which owns 25% of American Airlines. These insiders bought put options through Deutsche Bank.
Most demanding clients trust.
And there she is
Deutsche Bank
recording her
before.
fucking
Deutsche
TV's
Bank,
audio again.
A passion.
Buzzy Krongard, the former executive director of the CIA, just happened to be the manager of Deutsche Bank. And so the profiteers from 9/11 were not Osama bin Laden or his band of U.S.-trained Arabs. They were blue-chip Israeli, U.S., and British businessmen.
Obviously.
Within the first week, the 9/11 producers sucked up $40 billion in box office profits from U.S. taxpayers who were hypnotized, terrorized, and traumatized by the infinite reruns.
Think of it as a conspiracy theory true or false test. A. When George W. Bush
we
started
can't
his
even
first oil
decide.
company, who helped fund it? Osama bin Laden's brother and brother-in-law. True or false?
We can't even decide what the conspiracy's motive was. It's amazing.
B. After a terrorist bomb at a barracks in Saudi Arabia killed 19 Americans, who got the multi-million-dollar contract to rebuild? The bin Ladens. True or false? C. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, who was in a meeting at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Washington? George Bush Sr. and Osama bin Laden's brother. True or false?
Oh.
Actually, the answer could be D. All of the above.
All of the above.
Because believe it or not, as far-fetched as they sound, each and every one of those things, the bin Laden link to the Bush Oil Company, the bin Laden construction contract after the terrorist bomb, and the bin Laden-Bush meeting on 9/11, is true.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, and that's not because the Saudis are an insular community in which only a handful of multi-million-dollar families rule the entire country openly. No.
Facts surrounding the events of 9/11 point to a cover-up, like the fact that the Bush administration ignored all of the advance warnings of the 9/11 attacks. Warnings from FBI agents like Colleen Rowley and from the famous Phoenix memo were not only ignored, they were suppressed. FBI Deputy Director John P. O'Neill quit his job when his investigation of Osama bin Laden was blocked. According to a September 24th Newsweek article, top Pentagon officials canceled their travel plans for 9/11 because of security concerns. While the American public were sitting ducks, all of America's political, military, and corporate VIPs were kept out of harm's way. Two Muslims accused of the 9/11 hijackings took their flight training at Rudy Decker's Huffman Aviation School in Florida. Rudy Deckers is linked to the CIA and drug smuggling through Carib Air and Britannia Aviation, which shared the same small Venice airport
Fantastic.
with Deckers. The media reported that on the night before the attacks, accused ringleader Mohammed Atta and two other Muslim hijackers got drunk, fondled naked dancers in a Florida strip club called Shuckums, forgot their business
I
card
know
and
where
their
that
Quran
is.
holy book at the bar, publicly bashed America, and loudly boasted about impending bloodshed the next day.
Yeah.
Would devoted and highly secretive Muslim hijackers risk their planned mission by attracting so much negative attention?
Well, what's funny to me is the concept that you didn't think these guys were immediately the next morning going to kill themselves, have a blast the day before, talk shit, and then go die. This is pretty standard behavior.
And why were they in Florida instead of Boston the night before their suicide flights? On the early morning of September 11th, 19 Muslim men well known to intelligence and security agencies supposedly waltzed past airport security checks, boarded 4 passenger planes, and turned them into deadly missiles without even a hitch.
It was super hard at the time, too. Thank you for recording your television again.
By 8:13 a.m., flight controllers temporarily lost radar contact with American Airlines Flight 11 and reported a suspected hijacking. Even though Andrews Air Force Base is only 10 minutes from Washington, emergency response fighter jets took close to an hour instead of the typical 15 minutes to scramble and begin searching for the hijacked planes. By then, it was too late. President Bush already knew about the first Flight 11, which...
How do you go through all that and ignore the fact that there was a training exercise going on? That's what most conspiracy theorists jump on. How do we dodge that?
Occurred at 8:46 a.m. when he sat down to chat with school kids at Booker Elementary School. It wasn't until 9:05 a.m. that he was notified that a second plane, Flight 175, had also crashed into the World Trade Center and that America was under attack.
Yeah, she has the technical skills of a public 1980s television show.
Instead of being whisked to safety in this national emergency, Bush nodded and continued chatting with the kids for another 20 minutes about a pet goat, while American citizens were burning alive and leaping to their death from the smoking towers.
Wailing against the wind as they fell, almost as if they had second thoughts. I was absolutely horrifying.
And you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to wonder exactly what President George W. Bush knew about the attack, and when he knew it. According to the official White House version, it was at this moment in a Florida classroom that Bush learned the second plane had hit the World Trade Center.
Yes, we all learned at the same
attack.
time. I was just down the
But
street
here's what
from where
George
that
Bush
happened.
himself said almost 3 months later when asked about September 11th.
I was sitting outside.
I mean, to be fair, just that shot
classroom
alone.
waiting to go in.
Just that shot alone says he looks fucking confused.
And I saw an airplane hit the tower of a TV. You know, the TV was obviously on, and I used to fly myself, and I said, well, there's one terrible pilot. And it said it must have been a horrible accident. But I was whisked off there. I didn't have much time to think about it.
Now wait a minute. George Bush was told about the second plane while he was inside the classroom. So you just heard him describe seeing the first plane crash on television that day.
Yes, which meant nothing.
But that's impossible. No one saw the first plane crash on TV on September the 11th because the videotape of it didn't surface until the next day.
Well, yes.
At 9:55...
Shocking. A president lied. Do go on. I mean, Hillary landed under gunfire, right? This is a standard operating procedure.
a.m., President George W. Bush took off in Air Force One with no escort or protection from fighter jets and circled around for the next hour. Why was the president's plane air...
Yeah, exactly. That was a full diaper face. I wasn't real big on Bush, still not, but Jesus, he froze. He continued doing what he needed to do. He froze.
...airborne and unescorted for an entire hour while hijacked planes were roaming the skies.
I thought that's what we were mocking him for, having froze back in the day. But apparently we're just going to say he did it.
The inexperienced hijacker pilots who took only a simulated flying course reportedly flew the third hijacked plane, Flight 77, into a Top Gun 270-degree turn, bypassed the offices of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and crashed into an insignificant part of the Pentagon that was under renovation. Emergency response Air
Ignoring the fact that huge portions of the Pentagon have been under,
Force fighter jets were finally airborne when a fourth hijacked plane, Flight 93, crashed into a field in Pennsylvania at 10:06 a.m.
Well, yeah, they just got a recall order. They parachuted out of the side of the plane, and then they just put it into the ground with no one in it.
The media reported that passengers overpowered the hijackers, but nearby residents saw U.S. fighter jets overhead and gave eyewitness reports of debris falling from the sky. That debris was found 8 miles away, indicating that the plane had been shot down. Within hours of the 911 hijackings, a massive Blame the Muslims campaign was launched by CNN and the media and continues to this day.
Fuck, that caught me off guard. I swallowed beer. Fuck off. Oh, fuck. Oh, God.
In less than 48 hours, the names and mugshots of 19 accused Muslims were flashed across TV screens. If government investigators knew nothing, how did they identify 19 Muslim men as the hijackers so fast?
Yes, let us click that said link below. Let me hope this doesn't do anything silly. Whoops. Nope.
Government investigators knew nothing.
Stop.
How did they identify?
Imagine you just stopped when I told you to. Just imagine a world where that happened. I know, it's hard. But imagine that that's a world that could be. Sorry, this is going to be highly unprofessional. We're kind of rolling with the punches here today, so... Sorry. And then we're doing it.
Identify 19 Muslim men as the hijackers so fast, from fake passports and with no DNA evidence. How could Muhammad Atta's passport survive the fireball explosion that supposedly cremated him, fly out of his pocket, fly out of the incinerated plane, flutter to the ground into 2 feet of debris, and end up in readable condition in the hands of investigators, all within 48 hours?
Good question.
Why did 19
Stop
Muslim
bumping your
men
bike.
even need passports on domestic flights? How were passports found but not the plane's voice recorders? Why did the hijackers need passports they would never use again after their suicide flights? And why were the 19 accused Muslims not under surveillance on 911 if they were so easy to identify?
Fantastic.
The suitcase of accused ringleader Muhammad Atta was never loaded onto the hijacked plane and conveniently fell right into the hands of investigators. It was jam-packed with incriminating evidence.
Oh, fantastic. They just love this kind of stuff. This happens all the time.
Including a Quran, a how to fly a commercial airplane video, and a fuel consumption indicator.
Sick.
Why would a hijacker about to die on a suicide mission pack a suitcase? It seems Muhammad Atta was a very forgetful ringleader who carried around a lot of Quran holy books. He reportedly forgot one Quran in a Florida strip club, another in a rental car, and still another one in his lost suitcase at the airport. More incriminating evidence of flight manuals written in Arabic were found within hours of the attacks in parked rental cars at the airports. Why didn't the terrorists take a taxi to the airport? Can they be that smart and that stupid at the same time? The conspicuous trail of planted evidence continued 3 weeks after the 911 attacks, when anthrax letters killed 5 people and were clearly worded to throw the blame on Muslims.
Oh, God. Fantastic.
Death to America, death to Israel, Allah is great. It has
Yeah, that's pretty standard. That's their slogans.
since been proven that the anthrax came from a U.S. Army lab and was never mailed by Muslims. Were the 19 Muslims accused of the hijacking set up as patsies and framed? If so, who set them up?
The CIA.
Right after the attacks, CNN deceptively and repeatedly showed an airport security video of Muhammad Atta. CNN neglected to tell viewers that the video showed Muhammad Atta boarding a plane at Portland, Maine, not the hijacked plane. There are no airport security videos of any of the 19...
So what? That particular airport had a clear shot of him. It was a transfer flight.
accused Muslims boarding any of the hijacked planes. Right after the 911 attacks, CNN reported that the U.S. government had a tape recording of Osama bin Laden telling his mother that something big was about to happen and that she wouldn't be seeing him for a while.
This is about to get good.
CNN later acknowledged that the report was false. Osama bin Laden consistently denied being involved in 911 and claimed the Israeli Zionists were behind the attacks.
Well, obviously.
According to Japanese, Chinese, and Indian news reports, Osama bin Laden was killed in Afghanistan in the fall of 2001 and was buried in an unmarked grave by his own men.
You mean a common story to be released when someone's trying to escape?
Following the money trail, Osama bin Laden. Army sources telling me, even via Iraq, via other places overseas, we know where he is. We're on him. It's just a matter of time. Do you agree with that?
I believe he's dead.
Really?
I'm 98% positive that we killed him in December of 2001 during the Tor Bor campaign. I've seen no proof of life since then, regardless of these tapes that are cobbled together.
Why'd you have to stop there? Why'd you have to stop there? What was he gonna say? Why'd the audio cut?
In 2004, just before the U.S. presidential election, this man, dressed in an Osama bin Laden costume, confessed to the 911 attacks, scared American voters, and tricked them into treating George Bush to another 4 years in the White House. Zionist extremists believe that Hebrew Jews are God's chosen race of people.
Imagine just watching someone else's misinformation campaign at face value.
The God-given right to the land of Israel. The Muslim world and millions of Europeans including Germany's former Minister of Technology, Andreas von Bülow, believe that Zionist extremists staged the 9/11 attacks on America to ignite the war on terrorism.
Yeah.
That war has targeted Israel's Muslim enemies and is being fought and paid for with the blood, the lives, and the tax dollars of terrorized American citizens.
Oh, the Zionists did it, which is just the PC way to say the Jews did it. And yeah, that was a fat Jew. No question about that. That was a big old fat Jew guy.
Half the world believes that 9/11 was a conspiracy carried out by Islamic Muslim extremists with financing from Muslim charities. The
Yeah.
other half believes it was a conspiracy carried out by Jewish Zionists with financing from Jewish charities. Is there any evidence to support that belief? Since 9/11, FBI Director Mueller, BBC News, and ABC have confirmed that 7 of the 19 Muslims whose mugshots were flashed around the world did not die in the 9/11 crashes. They are alive and well and are victims of identity theft.
Yeah. That doesn't prove anything. That proves that they were probably stolen from poor people in those countries and used to get through because they wouldn't have passed terrorist checks.
An 8th accused Muslim died 1 year before the 9/11 hijackings even occurred.
And that's how his identity got stolen, dear.
Who stole their identities, and why isn't the FBI looking for them?
They were third world countries, dear. The FBI doesn't have jurisdiction there, first and foremost.
If the hijackers really were Muslims, why would they steal the identities of fellow Muslims and implicate them? Wouldn't they be more likely to steal Israeli identities and put the blame on Israelis? If the hijackers were Israelis, wouldn't they be likely to steal the identities of Muslims and put the blame on Muslims?
How would they have stolen the identity of Israelis instead? How? That's not an easy thing to do. Whereas it was probably relatively simple to get poor people's identification.
No one has been officially charged or convicted of the 9/11 hijackings. CNN and the 5 Western media monopolies have exclusively sold the American people on a Muslim conspiracy. Unfortunately, the only eyewitnesses capable of positively identifying the hijackers died on board the hijacked planes.
Obviously.
Before flight attendant Amy Sweeney was killed on hijacked Flight 11, she picked up an airphone and reported that 4 Middle Eastern-looking men had hijacked the plane. The fact is that Israeli men are Middle Eastern men who...
Oh, fantastic. Oh, fuck me. I hit the wrong button. Sorry, lads. Everything's fine.
Government investigators knew nothing. How did they identify the plane?
Everything's fine.
The
Nothing
fact
happened.
is that
This
Israeli
hasn't been a
men
complete
are
shit show.
Middle Eastern men who just happen to be Middle Eastern looking.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
they're
voice
for
of the
sure
hijacker
Israeli
heard from
Middle
the
Eastern.
hijacked plane's voice recorder reveals that the accent of the hijacker matches an Israeli Hebrew accent.
The next transmission comes seconds later.
In what way did that sound like an Israeli? I'm not trying to be mean, but in what way? Hey guys, I'm running this on a fucking laptop. This isn't even my normal computer. Give me a break.
After 9/11, 1,000 Middle Eastern-looking Muslim men were swept into U.S. custody, but the media kept quiet about 60 Middle Eastern-looking Israeli men who were also taken into custody and held under great secrecy. On December 11th, Carl Cameron of Fox News ran the first of a 4-part series about a group of Israelis who were among the 9/11 suspects.
Then that's a really bad fucking cover-up, isn't it?
These detained Israelis failed polygraph tests about their surveillance activities against the U.S. and were caught videotaping the 911 attacks from different angles. Fox News also reported that the evidence linking these Israelis to 911 was classified, but a leaked 61-page report from the U.S. government's Drug Enforcement Agency revealed that another 120 Israelis, posing as artists, were also rounded up right after 911. Carrying counterfeit visas and green cards, the Israelis admitted that they served in the Israeli army in explosives, electronic, and military intelligence units. Did Middle Eastern-looking Israelis who were detained as suspects after 911 steal the identities of the accused Muslims?
What? You're just posing that question to the void? You've given zero information. You're just kind of going to pose that question to the void then. Alright.
The leaked DEA report revealed that Israelis with Israeli military backgrounds had
all Israelis have Israeli military background. All.
Posed as
#all.
Artists and lived on Sheridan Street in Hollywood, Florida, just down the street from Mohammed Atta and 3 other accused Muslims. On August 18th, 1 month before the 911...
It's almost like people from that region of the world tended to live in the same region in Florida.
An attack,
like people do everywhere.
A New York Times article by reporter Sheila K. Dewan described a group of 4 foreign artists who smuggled their way into the World Trade Center just months before 911. The artists occupied studio space free of charge on the 91st floor with 14 other artists and claimed to be writing a book called The Bee Thing. They also claimed that they constructed a temporary balcony on the 91st floor as a prank. Somehow, these so-called artist pranksters escaped the...
When is this from? This looks like the early 90s. This doesn't look... I mean, even what they're wearing doesn't even remotely look time appropriate.
...attention of the World Trade Center's heavy security companies. George W. Bush's brother, Marvin Bush, just happened to be the director of Securicom, which provided electronic security for the World Trade Center. By some mysterious coincidence, Marvin Bush's company also provided electronic security for 911's United Airlines and 911's Dulles Airport.
Again, it's not difficult to understand that we have a few multinational corporations that are a problem, but why does it have to become this?
So what were 18 foreign artists really doing living free of charge in one of the world's most expensive rental spaces?
I'd need to see some serious proof of that claim first and foremost.
Many top engineering and demolition experts believe that the Twin Towers were rigged with explosives which caused the buildings to implode vertically in a typical controlled demolition.
Oh, here it comes, Lord, don't worry.
The reason the collapsing buildings looked like a controlled demolition, say experts, is because they were a controlled demolition. Photos and video recordings confirm that explosions occurred at the base of the 2 towers as well as in Building 7 before they fell. On September 24th, firefighter Louis Caccioli told People Weekly point blank,
Oh, that's a good edit job. This must have been posted before YouTube let you post long videos, because this is just atrocious. And part 3. Come on, crappy little computer, I know you can do it. I believe in you. Wait, is this the same thing? Did I download the wrong Ring of Power Part 3? I suppose we're gonna find out. We'll find out together as I adjust the size of this image back to something it should be. No, that's nowhere near the right size. Come on. Trying to do this without a mouse is harder than I thought it would be, I'll tell you guys that. I don't advise it, frankly. Doing this with a little laptop thing is just not a good idea. Close enough for government work, we're gonna deal with it for now. Let's hope it's the same movie. Whatever, right? This is not the right thing.
World Order members over the next century. The Rothschilds earn millions weekly just on transaction
Look at the
fees
title.
alone, or just
How?
Conforto House. 70s got state of London. Lord Rothschild and his ring of power hide their identities behind 13 city council members who stand in as their representative.
Yeah, this is part 3. This is what it should be. It says Ring of Power part 3. E. Look. It's not going to show you. It is the Ring of Power Part 3, friends, I assure you. I don't know why this has become such a shit show. This is what happens when you fly by wire. Let's see if we can find it, the real one. Let's go back here. Yeah, for some reason this cut is an hour and 22 minutes long and labeled Part 3. If someone wants to try and help me by sending me the actual Part 3, which doesn't appear to be coming up in my YouTube search at all, that would be lovely. That would be great. Again, this is the danger, I suppose, of trying to do this like this. Sorry if I blew anyone's eardrums out there. Let's try part 4. See if that's closer. Yeah, that's not super loud. What the hell?
Disaster movie that collected billions from insider stock market trades are not oil.
Someone just recut these. This is going to be impossible unless someone can send me a link. Seriously, this is going to be impossible. We were just on, yeah. I understand. It was just on part 2. I get that, but I'm telling you, I don't have part 3. For some reason, part 3 is not the part 3 it should be. I have no explanation for that, but it's not. It's this, which is an hour and 22
Germany,
minutes long.
Destroy Nazism and create the Zionist state of Israel.
Oh, good.
Of the entire world. Of the vizier who serves.
This is like part of this just cut out. What the fuck? How? Yeah, but why though? Does anyone want to link me or? Oh god, now it's a Vimeo? Alright, fuck it. Let's see if I can get the Vimeo up. Beep. Alright. You said it starts at about 22.
For the night.
There we go. Now let's see if I can get OBS to find it. Not like that, apparently. There's the ad again. Let's just try this. Put it over there. It still doesn't want to do it. Why? This should be fine. It's just capturing a window. Just fucking capture the window.
911.
You can see my cursor on here, but you for some reason are not able to see this. Still nope. I guess I could try and download it, but that's going to take a minute. Do you guys want to wait for that, or what do we want to do? What does chat say? What does chat say? Well, one way or another it's downloading, so we'll see what happens. We'll see who stays, and we'll see how much we get through it. And it didn't download. Fantastic. We'll try one more site. Alright, you guys have a minute then? Cool. It'll just be 1 sec. Isa downloading now. We'll be fine. Talk it hurt. Well then don't do that. What the fuck? It's that simple. Yeah, they're clearly trying to keep me from streaming this. That's become apparent if anyone's been paying attention. I mean, let's be serious. They don't want the truth out. I think that's more than apparent. I think that I think we'll be fine. Come on, you big beast. Just for sure download. Well, it is going, so it will be up. Go away, Black Hitler. Yeah. Alright, should be a little bit under 4 minutes. So, if anyone would like to use this as, let's say, a bathroom break or some such, that's completely fine. I understand. Feel free. This stream is, like, on its 3rd layer of fucked up. That's what this stream is. It's essentially on its 3rd layer of fucked up. We are watching bad documentaries together. That's what this stream channel is essentially for. And now it has crashed, like, repeatedly. I have no idea. For some reason, my version of OBS, I think it's actually just maxing out the capacity of the fucking GPU I've got built into this laptop. And it just won't display. It simply can't hold that many displays at once for some reason. It just goes black. So, we have to do it this way. I have no idea. Did you? A 5.6. That's pretty impressive. That's not unimpressive at all. No, it's a Dell. It's a garbage Dell. It was never designed for this. I'm pushing it past what it's ever been asked for. No, it's not dead, is it? Still says it's live here for me. I've got my picture display up, so you guys can't see what I'm doing. That's all. It's almost done, don't worry. And then we'll be right back on program. And it will be long enough that we will run it again next week, because it's apparently 4 hours long. So we've got the next 2 weeks set. So prepare for the rest of this as well. We'll be good. It's just doing its thing. Again, I'm asking it for a bit much. I'm simultaneously at this point streaming and then downloading this movie at the same time, this 4 hour long movie. I have not felt the need to turn it off and on again. However, I do get the reference to one of my favorite television shows. So, yes, thank you. sweet, sweet stout beer. Get me through this experience. Help me by. Because at this point, I'm a madman talking to himself in a room. And I've come to that knowledge, and I'm still waiting for it. It says 1 minute. Rune, it says 1 minute. And it said 1 minute for about 3 minutes. And I can't do anything to make it go faster. So I can just stare and will. That's what I can do. Just stare and will. You know how it is. No, I know. I was joking. I just mean literally, if someone were to be looking in, it would be like, oh shit, there's a crazy man talking to himself. That's good. That's all. Sick. Nuka World. Yeah, I've been playing the new Fallout myself. I had never played through. 20 seconds, 18 seconds. I never played through, and I figured I may as well go do the actual Institute side of things, which I haven't done yet. Says 3 seconds. It could be lying. And we're good. Where'd it go? Yeah, but where'd you go, though? Let's do that. Good music. Boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. Sick. Alright. And we are going to go here. And excellent. Whoops. I'm going to do that. There we go. And I think we're good. Shall we proceed?
Artist, and lived on Sheridan Street in Hollywood, Florida, just down the street from Mohammed Atta and 3 other accused Muslims. On August 18th, 1 month before the 9/11 attacks, a New York Times article by reporter Sheila K. Dewan described a group of 4 foreign artists who smuggled their way into the World Trade Center just months before 9/11. The artists occupied studio space free of charge on the 91st floor.
Yeah, here we
with
were.
14 other artists, and claimed to be
There
writing
we
a
go.
book called The Bee Thing. They also claimed that they constructed a temporary balcony on the 91st floor as a prank. Somehow, these so-called artist pranks were in 28 minutes after being struck. Smoke
That's gonna
turned
have to be good
black,
enough.
indicating cooling temperatures, not rising temperatures as reported. Why did a company called Controlled Demolition quickly haul away, melt down, and dispose of
$23.49. God damn.
$499,000
Yeah, this is too far.
to implode
Ha!
vertically in a typical
Got it.
controlled demolition?
Thanks, chat. It's hard for
The
me to keep
reason
up.
the collapsing buildings looked like a controlled demolition, say experts,
It's 'cause it was
is because
thermite.
they were a controlled demolition.
Of course.
Photos and video recordings confirm that explosions occurred at the base of the 2 towers as well as in Building 7 before they fell.
Okay.
On September 24th, firefighter Louis Caccioli told People Weekly point blank, on September 24th, firefighter Louis Caccioli
Okay.
told People Weekly point blank, "We think there were bombs set in the building." That claim was echoed by many witnesses and by firefighters who heard the explosions just before Tower 1, Tower 2, and Building 7 collapsed. The steel-supported twin towers were built to withstand the impact of a passenger jetliner, yet the official explanation for their collapse is that the burning jet fuel heated the steel support beams and caused them to buckle.
I love that. It doesn't have to
Independent
melt.
investigators insist that it's impossible for jet fuel burning in oxygen to melt steel, and that most of the jet fuel burned up outside the buildings in clearly visible fireballs. After the crashes, the white smoke turned black, indicating cooling temperatures, not rising temperatures as reported.
Yeah, that's not really how smoke
Why
works.
did a company called Controlled Demolition quickly haul away, melt down, and dispose of 499,850 pieces of structural steel that could have proved the temperature the steel had reached and the use of explosives? Why did Tower 2 that was
Stop
hit
banging
last
your mic,
fall
lady.
first, 53 minutes after being struck, whereas Tower 1 fell 1 hour and 28 minutes after being struck?
That's not a
An even
huge
bigger
difference of
mystery is
time.
why Building 7, owned by Larry Silverstein, collapsed much later on in the afternoon, even though it had never even been hit. If these 3 World Trade Center buildings were rigged with explosives, when could the explosives have been installed, and who controlled access to the buildings? The 30-year-old World Trade Center has always been publicly owned and managed by the New York, New Jersey Port Authority. That is until a Jewish businessman named Louis Eisenberg became the chairman.
Louis Eisenberg, oh God.
Eisenberg is an active leader in Jewish Zionist organizations.
Uh-oh.
He personally oversaw negotiations that put the publicly owned World Trade Center into private hands. Those private hands belonged to 2
Larry
Jewish
Silverstein.
pro-Zionist billionaires named Larry
Oy
Silverstein
vey.
and Frank Lowy, even though their bid was lower than other bids. Lowy served as a commando in the Israeli army, and Silverstein just happens to be the former chairman of the United Jewish Israel Appeal.
What's going
With
on?
Eisenberg's help,
What's going
they
on?
landed the
You getting red pilled, dog. Stay woke. This is them telling you the Jews did 9/11. I don't know what else you need to hear.
99-year lease worth $8 billion for half price at $3.5 billion. During the moving, renovations, and security changeovers, explosives could have easily been installed in the buildings without detection. George W.'s brother, Marvin Bush, was not only the director of the World Trade Center's electronic security company, he was also the director of the World Trade Center's casualty insurance company called Houston Casualty. That company terminated their insurance coverage for the World Trade Center before 9/11, right in the nick of time.
It's almost like it might have been associated with what you were describing before, wherein he was insuring a governmental building, and when it changed hands to private hands, they no longer felt the need to carry the account. You see.
Another suspicious company occupied the 16th and 17th floors of the North Tower. That company, called Zim Israeli American Shipping, suddenly broke their lease, paid a $50,000 penalty, and moved out of the World Trade Center only weeks before 9/11.
Awesome.
Zim Israeli American Shipping is owned by Zim
Fantastic.
Israel Navigation, which just happens to be owned by the government of Israel. If the new owners, Silverstein and Lowy, knew about the 9/11 attacks in advance, why did they buy a
Oy
99-year lease to the doomed buildings? Because they could do the simple math.
Uh-huh.
Silverstein bought the $3.5 billion World Trade Center with only a $15 million down payment, which amounts to 0.01% of the total. He took out maximum terrorist insurance coverage only 6 weeks before the attacks. The demolition of the World Trade Center buildings on 9/11 eliminated
Isn't this where we
Silverstein's cost
started?
for an $800 million facelift to update the aging 30-year-old buildings.
You think it's cheaper to do that?
As soon as the spanking new World Trade Center is finally built and expanded to over 11 million square feet of rental space, Silverstein stands to pocket billions of dollars per month. In the meantime, U.S. taxpayers are covering Silverstein's so-called losses.
Yeah.
Then there's the big payouts from insurance policies with mega-terrorism insurance, which Silverstein took out just weeks before 9/11.
Mega terrorism insurance?
Silverstein has demanded
Again,
a 200%
citation,
payout
please.
by claiming payouts for 2 separate 9/11 attacks instead of 1. Silverstein's insurance companies, called Swiss Re and Munich Re, are the same companies under investigation for advanced knowledge of 9/11 and for profiting from 9/11 on the stock
The
market.
Swiss Gold Council
If
in Munich.
Silverstein's insurance companies knew in advance about the attack,
Yeah, it's no good.
why would they insure doomed buildings? Were these giant insurance companies handpicked to keep a lid on their insurance investigation findings?
Obviously.
And to ignore
The way she ends so many things as a question and then the tone she puts on is killing me.
the evidence of 9/11 cover-ups? Silverstein has since bought out Frank Lowy, paid off investors and loan groups, put limits on victim compensation claims, and turned the publicly owned World Trade Center into the smelliest private real estate deal in American history.
Okay.
George W. Bush threw up permanent roadblocks to stop an independent investigation of the 9/11 events. When the 9/11 Senate Committee report was published, 27 pages that would have connected international banks to 9/11 were censored. On October 30th, 2003, a CBC television documentary investigated the 10-year friendship between the Bush family, the bin Laden family of Saudi Arabia, and the Saudi royal family. That friendship includes illegal presidential campaign contributions and partnerships
Yeah, like the ones Hillary was getting, or no?
in oil and weapons companies like the Carlyle Group. Since 9/11, 2,500 relatives of victims filed trillion-dollar lawsuits against 7 international banks, against the Saudi friends of the Bush family, and against the U.S. government for suppression of information. On 9/11, all U.S. flights were canceled, and desperate relatives of 9/11 victims were grounded.
What? Just throwing that in there because it doesn't make sense to have grounded the flights? Like, you're just gonna throw that in there like that was a jab at 9/11 victims' families?
48 hours later, September 13th, an update. Private flights were still prohibited. To take off required government approval at the highest level. That morning, Prince Bandar of Saudi Arabia visited the White House.
Good audio
Later
balance
that
here.
day, something unusual began to happen.
The Saudis went home.
Blanket Aviation Bank, several private planes, from Learjets to a 747, were cleared to depart from various U.S. cities. On board were dozens of the Saudi elite.
No.
Almost every one of bin Laden or a Saudi royal.
It's almost like we give the Saudi royals way too much leeway. Or it's almost like, just imagine you're in Saudi Arabia and you're a diplomat, right? You're an American diplomat, and an attack occurs on Saudi soil that is American citizens. And you say, hey, before things get uncomfortable, I'm just going to go home. And they said no. How do you think America would react? How would the United States government react? How would the Saudi government react if we told the royals no? I'm just wondering.
Meanwhile, Elizabeth Alderman was desperate to find a way from Paris to New York, where her son Peter was missing.
The bin Laden family, whoever was in the United States, got safe passage home. And I couldn't get home to be with my children.
Yeah, are you a multi-billionaire who has fucking... No? I don't think so.
Families couldn't get to New York, who lived far away, to even begin to look for their children. At this point, we didn't know who was alive or who was dead. I couldn't get home, and the bin Laden family were all able to get home.
Since 15 of the 19 hijackers were accused of being Muslims from Saudi Arabia, why wasn't the fury of George W. Bush directed at Saudi Arabia instead of opium-rich Afghanistan and oil-rich Iraq? Before the first plane ever
Opium-rich Afghanistan. Fantastic.
even hit,
You honestly think it's potentially cheaper to invade a country than it is to simply buy fucking opium resin from peasants? Seriously. Oh, you cunt.
obelisks are facing 10 in Crown down, tortured, and burning in of the original 12911 are not
Bin Laden or a Saudi royal.
knowledge of 911 that collected billions from inside that collect.
All able to get home.
Since
fine,
15 of the
everything's
19
fine,
hijackers were
everything's
accused of being Muslims from
fine.
Saudi Arabia, why wasn't the fury of George W. Bush directed at Saudi Arabia instead of opium-rich Afghanistan and oil-rich Iraq?
Yeah, it's not
Before
cheaper.
the first plane ever even hit the first tower on 911, a massive military buildup was organized near Afghanistan called Operation Swift Sword and Operation Bright Star. 23,000 British troops were sent to the Oman Gulf near Afghanistan, and 17...
It's look, okay, what are the new hot button things going on with laptops where if you touch it in two places it does weird things? Because it's irritating as shit, and can you turn it off?
1,000 U.S. troops joined NATO troops in nearby Egypt. All of these forces were positioned for attacks on the Muslim countries of Afghanistan and Iraq before 9/11. The Patriot Act, which was designed to limit American citizens' democratic rights and freedoms, was also designed and written months before the first plane ever even hit the first tower.
I hate laptops. I'd never use them
So
if I
who
could.
exactly are the producers of the 911 reality disaster movie that collected billions from insider stock market trades, 200 billion and counting from terrorized U.S. taxpayers, and gazillions of dollars from the...
Ma'am, you could just turn the volume for the movie in the background down. You don't have to shout.
The conquest of Iraq's oil fields and Afghanistan's opium fields. Contrary to popular opinion, the producers of 911 are not practicing Jews. And contrary to popular opinion, the producers of 911 are not practicing Muslims.
What?
They are a secret network of international pirates who identify with no nation, no national flag, and no established religion. Their flag is the skull and crossbones.
Well,
and
yes,
their
of
god-
course. No, of course. You have to understand. It's always going to come back to fuck the Jews. She's essentially reading Islamic hate screeds. That's...
G-O-D spells gold, oil, and drugs.
Gold, oil, and drugs.
It is important to understand the difference between the term Jews,
Oh,
Hebrews,
Jesus.
and Zionists. It is important to understand
By the way, the double takes are someone having linked her videos together poorly.
the difference between the term Jews, Hebrews, and Zionists. The majority of the world's Jewish population are honest, caring, honorable people who practice Judaism, follow religious tradition, and embrace good moral values.
Awesome.
The term Hebrew refers to the Hebrew language. It also refers to the Hebrew people who are the ethnic descendants of the original 12 tribes of Israel.
Uh-huh. Or Jews. Why'd we skip the next part of Zionists? We've went straight to this symbol.
The term Zionist refers to political extremists. Zionists believe that the Hebrews are God's chosen race of people and that the Hebrews have a right to the land of the Muslim Palestinians. Why? Because according to the Bible, God said so.
Of course. Of course we're here.
These Zionist extremists represent only a small minority of Jews and Hebrews. Christians who support Israel's theft of Palestinian land are called Christian Zionist extremists. Their goal is to help fulfill the prophecies of the Bible story.
Countless millions of Americans are reading a series of novels called Left Behind. They're topping bestseller lists all over the country, and they're being made into movies. They chronicle...
Oh, Jawa, thank you for pointing this out to me and then persisting to watch it with me, because it's amazing.
apocalyptic times.
And why are we on Left Behind?
The 21st century, complete with warplanes and TV correspondence.
This is Buck Williams reporting live from Israel. I am standing in the middle of an all-out attack.
But the plot is ripped from the pages of the Bible, so it all
Oh my god, kind of?
winds up here in Israel, where according to the book of Revelations, the final battle in the history of the future will be fought on this ancient battleground in northern Israel called Armageddon. It will follow 7 years of tribulation during which the earth will be shaken by such disasters that previous human history will seem like a day in the country.
Yeah, I don't advise the Left Behind series. It's a little rough. We're just gonna sit here. Episode 2, Hidden Empire. Nice long screenshot there. Oh, this is for sure Nate Glenn's favorite documentary. If he hasn't seen it, it will be.
50 years ago, the United States dropped the atomic bomb on Japan. To this day, Americans know very little about how that decision was reached.
The idea that the United States committed these and other horrific crimes against humanity and participated in the 9/11 incineration of thousands of its own citizens is too frightening a thought for many to consider. But even more frightening are the consequences of denial.
Yeah, I do too. The music from the Hitler docs was kind of nice.
Did the world wars, revolutions, and big events of human history evolve naturally, or were they calculated and pre-planned? If they were
Literally, the Jews are behind everything. Holy shit.
pre-planned, who planned them, and what are they planning for the future of humanity? The answer to this puzzling question can be found within the boundaries of three.
Oh, I can't take credit for this, Chrissy Ann. This is 100% someone else. This was 100% not me. Yeah.
Of the world's most powerful cities. Those three cities belong to no nation and pay no taxes.
Oh, here we go.
They are Washington's District of Columbia, which is not part of the city of Washington or of the United States, the inner city of London, which is not part of London or England, and Vatican City, which is not part of Rome or Italy.
Beware those who have no home, but call everywhere home.
These cities, called city-states, have their own independent flag, their own separate laws, and their own separate identity.
Vatican City is in fact a state, the smallest principality in the world.
If that's shocking to anyone, go out.
It lies on the banks of the Tiber, completely surrounded by the city of Rome. Its status as a separate state emerged from the Lateran Agreements of February 1929. It has its own newspaper, postal service, radio and television station, its own flag, and a population of about 1,000.
The Vatican also has its own army of Swiss guards, and it even has its own prison.
You see the connection? Are you seeing it now? The
Gracing the walls
Swiss
of St.
guards, the
Peter's
Swiss
Basilica
bankers were there,
is
you
the
see?
Vatican-approved image of God, an angry, bearded man in the sky, painted by Michelangelo. Sinners who disobey God's list of thou shalt nots risk incurring his wrath and damnation and burning in Satan's eternal hellfire. Cruel and violent images of God's tortured Son, suffering, bleeding, and dying,
A Jew on a stick.
with thorns gouged through his skull and nails pounded through his feet and hands, are on display throughout the Vatican. These images serve as reminders that God allowed his Son to be tortured and killed to save the souls of human beings who are all born sinners. These
Why are you describing basic Christianity to me, dear?
explanations and scary images are especially difficult for children to comprehend. The Vatican rules over approximately 2 billion of the world's 6.1 billion people. The colossal wealth of the Vatican includes enormous investments with the Rothschilds in Britain, France, and the USA, and with giant oil and weapons corporations.
So, Britain, France, the USA, weapons and oil corporations, and the Zionists. You realize you're just saying people in power work together, right?
like Shell and General Electric. The Vatican solid gold bullion worth billions is stored with the Rothschild-controlled Bank of England and the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank.
Hellbound. I have no idea. I will say, however, I'm completely willing to go on this endless thought adventure because it's good fun.
The Catholic Church is the biggest financial power, wealth accumulator, and property owner in existence, possessing more material
Kinda.
wealth than any bank, corporation, giant trust, or government anywhere on the globe. The Pope, who is the visible ruler of this colossal global wealth, is one of the richest men on earth. While 2/3 of the world earns less than $2 a day, and 1/5 of the world is underfed or starving to death, the Vatican hoards the world's wealth, profits from it on the stock market, and at the same time preaches about giving.
Yeah, they also divested from oil after you made this documentary, so that's going to make you kind of red in the face, isn't it?
How did the Pope and Vatican accumulate all that wealth over the millennium?
Secret societies killing people and stealing from the Muslims, I guess? I don't know.
One method was to put a price tag on sin.
Yes.
Many bishops and popes actively marketed guilt, sin, and fear for profit by
Yes.
selling indulgences.
This is not new.
Worshippers
Where are we
were
going?
encouraged to prepay for sins they hadn't yet committed and get pardoned ahead of time. Those who didn't pay up risked eternal damnation in Satan's oven.
Uh-huh.
Pope Leo X rebuilt St. Peter's Basilica, selling tickets out of hell and tickets to heaven.
Again, none of this is new.
During the Dark Ages, the Catholic Church not only hoarded the wealth they collected from the poor, but hoarded knowledge. They kept the masses
did.
ignorant and in the dark by denying them a basic education.
Well, to be fair, have you seen the masses? I mean, really?
More than 60,000 armed Christians were on their way to reclaim Jerusalem.
And now we're somehow at the Crusades. Holy shit, it's literally, there's nothing worse than nuclear bombs. There's nothing worse than the Crusades back to back. Wow.
Jerusalem from the infidel. More than 60,000 armed Christians were on their way to reclaim Jerusalem from the infidel.
Between 1095 and 1291 AD, the Pope launched 7 bloodbaths called the Christian Crusades.
Yeah, just launched them out of nowhere, unprovoked, completely, just, you know, just throwing people out.
Torturing, burning, beheading, and mass murdering hundreds of thousands of Muslims and Jews in the name of God. The Pope's brutal soldiers were called Knights Templar, or Knights of the Temple of Solomon, and evolved into today's secretive brotherhood called the Freemasons.
Of course, that's where this is going. That makes all the sense in the world.
Between 1450 and 1700 AD, the Catholic Church followed up their holy terror with the Inquisition. Based on rumors of practicing witchcraft, the Catholic Church hunted down, tortured, and burned alive millions of innocent women at the stake.
Yeah, but Cinnamon, if that was their goal, God, they've gone roundabout to do it. I mean, in theory, we could have Jerusalem like tomorrow, and we didn't do that very well. We should have called them Palestinians.
But out of the pages of history is to emerge the one truth. And may the angels lead thee to paradise.
Yeah, they always ignore the fact that witch and heretic aren't inherently the same thing. It's just not being right.
During World War II, the Vatican was criticized for supporting Hitler and his Nazi regime. To this day, the Vatican is still under investigation for plundering Nazi gold from the Swiss bank accounts of Jewish Holocaust victims. Over the past 5 decades, more than 1,500 priests and bishops have been identified in the sexual assault of tens of thousands of boys and girls in their trusting congregations and orphanages. Why is this filthy rich institution preaching
Jesus.
spiritual values of poverty and chastity while cardinals, bishops, and priests cover up their crimes of sexual abuse?
Mind you, we started all this off.
Why has
Mind you, we started all this off with 9/11. I don't know why we're here.
the church fought and resisted the compensation claims
Dude, we end up with Nazis somehow. Just get comfortable. We're headed in a long, long walk together.
of their sexually, emotionally, and spiritually traumatized victims? Like Vatican City, London Inner City is also a privately owned corporation or city-state, located right smack
Yeah, they're not operating in the same way at all.
in the heart of Greater London. It became a sovereign state in 1694 when King William III of Orange privatized and turned the Bank of England over to the bankers. By 1812, Nathan Rothschild crashed the English stock market and scammed control of the Bank of England. Today, the city-state of London is the world's financial power center and the wealthiest square mile on the face of the earth. It houses the Rothschild-controlled Bank of England, Lloyd's of London, the London Stock Exchange, all British banks, the branch offices of 385 foreign banks, and 70 U.S. banks. It has its own courts, its own laws, its own flag, and its own police force. It's not part of Greater London or England or the British Commonwealth, and
See, I wish I knew more about this particular operant area. If anyone wants to send me information, that'd be great, because I don't know anything about this particular thing, the Inner London region.
pays no taxes. The city-state of London houses Fleet Street's newspaper and publishing monopolies. It is also the headquarters for worldwide English Freemasonry and headquarters for the worldwide money cartel known as the Crown. Contrary to popular belief, the Crown is not the royal family or the British monarch. The Crown is the private corporate city-state of London. It has a council of 12 members who rule the corporation under a mayor called the Lord Mayor. The Lord Mayor and his 12-member
So is
council
this just
serve
how
as
it's
proxies or
arranged there? Is that what she's bitching
representatives
about?
who
Is
sit
how
in for
London is
13 of the
run?
world's wealthiest, most powerful banking families.
Oh, here's where the
This
name
ring
comes
of
from.
13
There we
ruling
go.
families includes the Rothschild family, the Warburg family, the Oppenheimer family,
There's lots of
and the
Germans
Schiff
there
family.
too.
These families and their descendants run the Crown Corporation of London. The Crown Corporation holds the title to worldwide Crown land in Crown colonies like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. The British Parliament and the British Prime Minister serve as a public front for the hidden power of these ruling Crown families. Like the city-state of London and the Vatican, a third
Yeah, do you think she subscribes to the theory that he was trying to warn us, J.R.R. Tolkien, that the One Ring was this?
city-state was officially created in 1982. That city-state is called the District of Columbia and is located on 10 square miles of land in the heart of Washington. The District of Columbia flies its own flag and has its own independent constitution.
You've
Although
already said that.
Geographically separate, the city-states of London, the Vatican, and the District of Columbia are one interlocking empire called Empire of the City.
Really?
The flag of Washington's District of Columbia has 3 red stars, one for each city-state in the 3-city empire. This corporate empire of 3 city-states controls the world economically through London's inner city, militarily through the District of Columbia, and spiritually through the Vatican. The
Fantastic.
Constitution for the District of Columbia operates under a tyrannical Roman law known as Lex Fori, which bears no resemblance to the U.S. Constitution. When Congress passed the Act of 1871, it created a separate corporate government for the District of Columbia. This treasonous act allowed the District of Columbia to operate as a corporation outside the original Constitution of the United States and outside of the best interests of American citizens.
Well, obviously. I don't know what this footage has to do with anything, but okay.
A sobering study of the signed treaties and charters between Britain and the United States exposes a shocking truth. The United States has always been, and still is, a British Crown colony. King James I was famous not for just changing the Bible into the King James Version, but for signing the first Charter of Virginia in 1606.
Yeah, the Virginia Charter is still in place. I mean, let's be honest. We're still obviously a British colony. Everyone knows that.
That charter granted America's British forefathers a license to settle and colonize America. The charter also guaranteed that future kings and queens of England would have sovereign authority over all the citizens and colonized land in America stolen from the Indians.
Yeah, did you see that? That's the ride in the carriage there was good.
After America declared its independence from Great Britain, the Treaty of 1783 was signed. That treaty specifically identifies the King of England as the Prince of the United States and contradicts the belief that America won the War of Independence.
What?
Although King George III of England gave up most of his claims over his American colonies, he kept his right to continue receiving payment for his business venture of colonizing America.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not how that worked out at all.
If America had really won the War of Independence, they would never have agreed to pay debts and reparations to the King of England. When Congress passed the
Haiti's still owned by France.
13th Amendment to the Constitution, the U.S. President was made subservient to the King of England. The 13th Amendment is called the Title of Nobility Amendment and forbids U.S. presidents and their officials from using royal titles like king or prince or baron. For some mysterious reason, the 13th Amendment, which was ratified in 1810, no longer appears on current copies of the Constitution.
Yeah, it's just gone. They're just hiding it, but still abiding by it.
America's blood-soaked War of Independence against the British bankrupted America and turned its citizens into permanent debt slaves of the king.
Essentially, yes, she's saying that the Revolutionary War was a front.
In the War of 1812, the British torched and burned to the ground the White House and all U.S. government buildings, and destroyed ratification records of the U.S. Constitution. 1 century later, a corrupt U.S. Congress committed the biggest theft in world history. They passed Paul Warburg's Federal Reserve Act in 1913, handing over America's gold and silver reserves and total control of America's economy to the Rothschild banksters. Most Americans still believe
It's the banking conspiracy.
that the Fed, or Federal Reserve, is the government. It is not. The Fed is a privately owned banking system whose majority Class A shareholders are the Rothschilds, Warburgs, Kuhn and Loeb, J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, Israel Seif, and the Lehman Brothers. This private banking cartel is the Fed and is never audited and never pays taxes. They print and design America's money, which displays their symbols of an Egyptian pyramid, a Masonic all-seeing eye, and the words "In God We Trust." Who exactly is the God they trust?
Yeah, it's the God, G-O-D. It's gold, oil, and drugs. Everyone knows that.
They also collect American taxpayers' money through the IRS. Then they loan it back again with interest to pay for roads, bridges, and other public works.
Yes, unfortunately we've yet to be able to come up with another way to do things, and if anyone has any ideas, I'm sure fucking everybody's listening.
American presidents are handpicked and financed by these special interest power groups. Like George W. Bush, John Forbes Kerry, whose initials are JFK, is a member of Yale University's Skull and Bones Brotherhood. The Forbes part of John Kerry's name identifies his descendancy from Captain Robert Bennett Forbes, who was a drug runner for the Rothschilds' opium drug trade with China in the 1800s. Most U.S. citizens believe that the United States is a country and that the president is the most powerful man on earth.
Well,
the United States is not a country.
Of course
it is
not.
a corporation.
Yes.
And the president is president of the corporation of the United States.
Okay.
He and his elected officials work for the corporation, not for the American people. Since the United States is a corporation, who owns the corporation of the United States? Like
The
Canada
Rothschilds?
and Australia, whose leaders are prime ministers of the Queen, and whose land is called Crown Land, the United States is just another crown colony.
Yes.
Crown colonies are controlled by the empire of 3 city-states.
Okay, you've clarified this
At the center of each
already.
city-state is a towering, phallic-shaped stone monument
Phallic
called
shape.
an obelisk
Fantastic.
that points skyward.
Phallic.
In D.C. city-state, the obelisk, known as the Washington Monument, was dedicated to Freemason George Washington by the Freemason Grand Lodge of the District of Columbia. C city-state, the obelisk, known as the Washington Monument,
And repeat.
was dedicated to Freemason George Washington by the Freemason Grand Lodge of the District of Columbia.
Okay.
The secretive Brotherhood of Freemasons laid the Washington obelisk's cornerstone in
FYI, Freemasons founded the city I live in right now. It's pretty neat.
1848 and contributed 22 Masonic memorial stones. 250
Sick.
Masonic lodges financed the Washington Monument obelisk, including the Knights Templar Masonic Order.
Nice.
At the heart of London city-state is a 187-ton, 69-foot-tall Egyptian obelisk called Cleopatra's Needle. It was transported from Egypt and erected on the banks of the River Thames. In Vatican City, another Egyptian obelisk towers high above St. Peter's Square.
It's almost like these people conquered stuff and took it back, right?
What exactly is an obelisk? Obelisks are phallic-shaped monuments honoring the pagan sun god of ancient Egypt.
No, I suffer from not being able to become a Freemason due to the fact that they tend not to allow people with criminal records in. So, just like from so many other things, I am barred.
Called Amun-Ra. The spirit of this pagan god is said to reside within the obelisk. Obelisks
Oh, for sure go
symbolize
see what
famous
Masons
and
look like,
fertility.
though, if you have the
At the
opportunity,
base
because
of
it's
the
essentially
obelisk
a
is
Shriners
circle
Club. It's not
symbolizing
scary.
the vagina. Together,
Oh, sick.
they depict male and female sexual union.
Penis and vagina stuff.
Worshippers of Amun believe Amun is the supreme god and creator of all things, and can transform himself into other gods, like Osiris, the god of the underworld, or Seth, the god of evil and chaos.
Okay.
Since vowels were interchangeable in the biblical Hebrew language, Amun can be spelled A-M-E-N, A-M-O-N, O-M-O-N, or A-M-U-N.
Yes,
Today,
I looked into
Amun
it.
is
Of
one of
course
the
I
most
did.
popularly used words in the entire world. It is used in all languages by Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and Jews at the end of prayer. Without realizing it, people all over the world are praising Amun.
Fantastic.
The Old Testament of the Bible is the holy book of both Christians and Jews. Amun is repeated over and over again throughout the Bible and is hidden within the word testament. The word Amun literally means the hidden one. Many are fooled into believing that Amun means
Good.
so be it or truly. But in Kings 1 verse 36 of the Old Testament, Amun is identified as the Lord God of my Lord. Why in the world would the Vatican, a fortress of Puritan Christian values, erect a monument symbolizing the pagan god Amun and sexual intercourse right in its own front yard?
Episode 3, Trail of the Pharaohs. Mind you, this is another 26 episode thing, so... Oh, we're for sure watching this whole thing. We'll probably split it into 2 or 3 parts, but... Probably just 2, because 3 sounds overbearing. Okay, we're 2 Palestinian rock throwers now. I don't know why or how, but...
Bloodshed between the Israeli Jews and the Palestinian Muslims is routinely reported by the Western news media. But how much does the general public really know about what's going on in Israel? And why
Nothing.
should they even care? Why? Because Israel has written human history, and it is also writing the future of humanity. It is important to know that the land now called Israel was originally
Rick.
called Canaan in ancient times. Canaan was populated by
fuck
the
me.
Canaanite people,
We're back to the
who were
Jews
ancestors
already.
of today's Palestinians imprisoned in refugee camps in Israel. About 3,500 years ago, the Semitic Hyksos kings ruled Egypt for 100 years, but were expelled from Egypt into Canaan. The Egyptians called these Hyksos people the Habarus, which means Hebrews. These expelled Hebrews invaded and conquered the land of Canaan and changed the name of the land from Canaan to Israel.
Imprisoned refugee camps. Yeah, I know. Hagbadarus. FYI, there's 0 evidence for Hebrew slaves in Israel, so it's all garbage anyway.
In 135 AD, the name was once again changed to Palestine after the Romans conquered the land. As recently as 1948, the name was officially changed back to Israel again by the Hebrew Zionists, who slaughtered and drove the Palestinian people from their homes, land, and villages after World War II.
Again, if you would just, ma'am, if you would just turn the volume on the music down, you wouldn't have to shout.
The best way to understand what's really going on in the world today is to journey back in time and dig up the ancient secrets of the past. Those ancient secrets have been hidden by the ruling class beneath the shifting sands of Egypt for more than 4,000 years.
Look at that beautiful black man. Again, I don't know why we're here.
Historian travel guides like Josephus, Herodotus, and Manetho, as well as writers like David Rohl, Ralph Ellis,
Did you just quote Herodotus? That's a thing you can do.
and Niels Peter Lemke, provide flashlights into the past. The earliest remains of human life on Earth were discovered in Africa. The ancient Egyptians kept detailed records of their culture and history in tombs, in temples, and on pottery, using pictures and writings called hieroglyphics. Archaeology experts have found absolutely no evidence
Moses
whatsoever
movie, go.
that Hebrew Jews lived as slaves in Egypt or of their exodus from Egypt.
So we're gonna agree with that.
The plain truth is that Moses didn't lead Hebrew slaves out of Egypt any more than Charlton Heston did.
Uh-huh.
So who was that bearded man with a magical staff named Moses?
Uh-oh.
There is not one shred
How are they kicking up dust?
of archaeological evidence for the existence of Moses or of any of the Bible's main cast of Hebrew characters, from Abraham to Jacob to Joseph to King David to King
Okay, but why?
Solomon. There is, however, plenty of evidence for the existence of Egyptian pharaohs who these biblical characters are based on. The Bible's Old Testament has carefully covered up the connection between the Egyptian pharaohs and the Hebrew patriarchs by mixing up historical facts with myths and legends.
How are we here, guys? This is about 9/11. How the fuck are we here? Why are we here? How did this happen? What is this?
The job of archaeology experts and historians is to separate fact from fiction. Modern archaeologists have confirmed that the Hebrews were not a race of people as once thought. They were a Semitic and Asiatic class of foreign workers who migrated into Egypt from neighboring lands in search of work as craftsmen and builders. As their population multiplied over hundreds of years, they contributed to Egyptian technology, worshipped Egyptian gods, intermarried with Egyptian nobility, and gradually rose to positions of power and wealth in Egypt.
Yeah, the
The
Jews,
Bible story
again,
of
they
the
slid into Egypt and they took over.
Hebrew Jews begins with Abram, who was born north of Canaan in the town of Ur around 2055 BC. Abram married his beautiful sister Sarai. At God's command, the incestuous couple changed their names to the Egyptian names of Abraham and Sarah and migrated to Egypt. Once in Egypt, Abraham turned his sister wife Sarah over to the Pharaoh as his harem sex slave and was rewarded with gold and silver. Abraham received covenants or promises from God. God promised to make his name great and to make a great nation for him. God also made a circumcision covenant with Abraham, commanding him to mark the flesh of his people and slaves by cutting off the protective
Good illustration.
foreskin of their penises.
Look at him holding his head. That's right, baby. You get in there.
Circumcision was a painful barbaric custom that was introduced into Egypt near this same time.
Nah, dog. Nah, circumcision existed long before Christianity. Thanks, though.
And has survived to this day. It is the unnecessary mutilation of the genitals of little boys and implies that God made a mistake in design. This mutilation custom has more to do with a mark of Hebrew ownership than with hygiene.
Yeah, so if you're clipped, it's a sign that you're owned by the Hebrews.
In the continuing Bible story, Abraham married an Egyptian woman named Hagar because his sister wife Sarah couldn't conceive. But at age 90, Sarah finally gave birth to a son named Isaac. Following God's order to sacrifice his son, Abraham hog-tied Isaac and picked up a knife to kill him. Just as Abraham was about to plunge the knife into Isaac, he learned God was only kidding.
LOL. I mean, however, we're blending basic Bible refutation with whatever the fuck is happening here, so...
Who was the ruling pharaoh that the Bible neglects to identify when Abraham and Sarah reached Egypt? His name was Amenemhet I, and he ruled Egypt from 1991 BC to 1962 BC. The name Amenemhet means Amen is the head. Besides Pharaoh Amenemhet and biblical Abraham living in the same place at the same time, the name Amenemhet means Amen
Good
is the
edit.
head.
Really sick
Besides
edit,
Pharaoh
dude.
Amenemhet and biblical Abraham living in the same place at the same time, is there any other evidence connecting biblical Abraham to Pharaoh Amenemhet I?
Those aren't the same
According
time,
to
really.
Egyptian history, Pharaoh Amenemhet I was not of royal blood, and his family origin is unknown. Egyptology experts believe he seized the throne of Egypt after murdering Pharaoh Mentuhotep. In 1818, Antonio Lobolo made a revolutionary discovery that identified the biblical Abraham as an Egyptian pharaoh. During Lobolo's excavations in the Egyptian Valley of the Kings, he exhumed 11 Egyptian mummies along with rolls of papyri inscribed with hieroglyphic writings and drawings.
Oh, where are we going now?
One of those drawings was interpreted by Mormon Joseph Smith and his Egyptologists as Abraham sitting on the pharaoh's throne. Abraham's name was also deciphered on a roll of papyrus. Joseph Smith published his controversial findings in the Book of Abraham in 1842 and was murdered 2 years later.
Wait. Is it that Joseph Smith? What are we doing here?
Today, the only Egyptian pyramid tomb forbidden to the
That's what I thought. She's talking about the Mormons.
public is the tomb of Pharaoh Amenemhet I, who many researchers now believe is the biblical Abraham. Why have Egyptologists never found the remains of Pharaoh Amenemhet I or a biblical Abraham?
Because he went to America? Okay, I've already had one bomb or a beer, and I'm already depressed with this movie. The people believe this. There are people out there that watch this and go, I have learned the truth now.
The best explanation is that their common remains are concealed inside the famous Ark of the Covenant.
Obviously.
The Hollywood movie Raiders of the Lost Ark was about the search for the lost Ark of the Covenant. According to the Bible story, the tablets of the Ten Commandments given to Moses by God were stored inside the Ark.
Obviously, along with the bodies. Please stop shouting at me. We're just showing an old movie now. Yeah, but which one are these? Are these the first tablets that he smashes, or the ones that he brings down the second time that have a whole different set of laws on them? That's really the question.
Egyptian artifacts tell the true story about what's really inside the Ark of the Covenant.
Do they, though?
The Ark of the Covenant is, in fact, an Egyptian canophic chest, where the dried organs of royal kings and pharaohs were stored, not the Ten Commandments. Why did the Hebrews call their royal canophic chest the Ark of the Covenant? Because the name signifies the covenants or promises that God made with Abraham. Would the Hebrews carry the Ark of the Covenant into battle to kill and steal if it really contained commandments like, "Thou shalt not kill or steal"? The best explanation is that the Ark contained the remains of their ancestral leader who led them into battle. Biblical Hebrew rulers like King Solomon broke all of the commandments, just like today's rulers who make and break laws and commandments to exploit the obedient masses.
Jesus. Okay, lady, you've completely come off the rails now. I'm deeply trying to have patience with you, but you're frustrating me.
The evidence shows that the ancestral patriarch of the Hebrew Jews is Amenemhet I, and that his biblical name is Abraham. Since Pharaoh Amenemhet worshipped the god Amun, are Amun and the biblical God the same God? Michelangelo's Vatican painting of God depicts God as an angry, bearded white man. God's
Fantastic,
words,
here we
actions,
go.
and deeds in the Bible's Old Testament
Fucking angry
show
white men,
God's
neck-bearded
extreme favoritism
bastards.
for the Hebrews generally, and for Hebrew males in particular. By today's standards, that behavior is considered both racist and sexist.
Awesome, here we
God
go.
admits to being a jealous God who approves of ritual human and animal sacrifice as proof that he is obeyed and worshipped above all other gods. He terrorizes, punishes, and kills the enemies of the Hebrews. He uses his godly power to kill Egyptian children and spread plagues, famines, pestilence, and darkness. He magically turns staffs into deadly venomous snakes
Also, so does the Egyptian magician, but...
and turns the Nile River into blood. Like the biblical God, the god Amun-Ra also turns the Nile River into blood in the Egyptian myth of Hathor.
It's almost like the Christians stole some of the understood beliefs.
The Bible God's opinion of humanity is that all human beings are sinful children who are all born into sin.
Well, yeah.
Since his words and deeds describe an angry, violent, and jealous God, are the biblical God and the ancient Egyptian god Amun, whose name is repeated over and over in the Bible, one and the same God? What is an Egyptian pyramid and the eye of the Egyptian god Horus doing on the American $1 bill? Why have Washington, London, and the Vatican erected towering obelisk monuments honoring the pagan Egyptian god Amun-Ra?
Oh, here we go. I know where this is headed.
In the
Fuck.
next Bible episode, Abraham's son Isaac, who Abraham almost stabbed to death, grows up to father twin boys named Jacob and Esau. A murderous rivalry develops between the twins, and Jacob flees to a place known today as Bethel in Israel.
Bethel?
He lays his head down to rest on a large, smooth stone and dreams of a stairway
Yeah,
reaching
you could
to
easily
heaven
call Amun-Ra
like a
prototype,
ladder.
sure.
The stairway in Jacob's dream describes the step pyramids built by Egyptian pharaohs like ladders reaching to heaven.
Yeah, they were step pyramids.
The symbolic stone where the Hebrew Jacob laid his head thousands of years ago in Bethel is alternately called the Stone of Jacob, the Stone of Destiny, and the Stone of Scone. Today, the symbolic stone can be found underneath the British throne chair on top of the symbolic step pyramid where the Queen and other British monarchs have been crowned.
Yeah, so basically anything that has steps on it that you go up is actually just trying to worship the sun god Amun-Ra. Basically, that's what they're saying.
The battered oak.
I have no idea how we got here from 9/11 or how we're going to get back to 9/11. However, I think it has to do with the Bank of England, the Rothschilds, and all this other kind of loosely based conspiracy stuff.
Coronation throne, on which every English monarch has been crowned.
is built over the stone of Scone.
As the Bible story continues, God promises Jacob that a nation and a company of nations shall come from him, and kings will spring from him. Jacob marries 2 of his girl cousins and fathers 12 sons. As Jacob ages, Joseph becomes his favorite son.
Now we're at Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
And Dan becomes his venomous son. Jacob eventually takes his sons and his Hebrew clan and migrates from Canaan into Egypt. This Hebrew migration into Egypt closely parallels Egyptian history when the Semitic Hyksos migrants overthrew the Egyptian pharaohs and seized the throne of Egypt.
The Jews took over. The Semitic Hyksos took over Egypt.
The Semitic Hyksos leaders who became king of Egypt was Yakuber. Since Yakuber
Jacob.
is the
There you go.
Aramean name for Jacob, Egyptology experts interpret this as factual evidence that the biblical Jacob and the Hyksos king Yakuber were
Yeah, for sure listen to Egyptologists. For sure.
one and the same. Historical records show that the Semitic Hyksos kings ruled Egypt for over 100 years. The Egyptian people rebelled against these Semitic kings and pushed them into northern Egypt. By 1500 BC, a peace agreement was reached between the Egyptians and the Semitic Hyksos, which allowed the Hyksos people to leave Egypt peaceably and move to Palestine and Jerusalem in the Egyptian-controlled land of Canaan.
See, it's the second wave of Jews sent there, I guess.
Their gradual and peaceful migration closely matches the Bible story of the Semitic Hebrew exodus from Egypt into Canaan in 1447 BC. According to the Bible story, when the Hebrews arrived in Canaan, they renamed it Israel and divided the land up into 12 tribal states, which they named after the sons of Jacob.
Fantastic.
Jacob's favorite son, Joseph, stayed behind in Egypt. Joseph hid his Hebrew identity by marrying an Egyptian wife and changing his name to the Egyptian name Zaphanath Paneah, which
Zaphanath
means he
Paneah.
who can reveal secrets.
Good deal.
According to the Bible, Joseph ruled Egypt as the Pharaoh's top vizier and bought up all the private land in Egypt from the starving people. Then he taxed them out of 1/5 of their income. Was Joseph the chief vizier of Pharaoh Moses, who negotiated the peace agreement allowing the Semitic Hebrew Hyksos people to settle in the Egyptian-controlled land of Canaan?
Was it? Did aliens do this? Are they that... I hate documentaries or supposed documentaries that do nothing but pose questions without presenting any evidence whatsoever.
The Hebrew connection to the Egyptian pharaohs is further revealed in the biblical story of Moses.
Many years ago, in a land
Yeah, well, ironically now we are watching Sunday school stuff.
called Egypt. Many years ago, in a land called Egypt, there lived a very mean king. Egyptian kings were called pharaohs.
Good horns.
The story begins with the Egyptian pharaoh ordering the deaths of all Hebrew baby boys.
Oh, no! They won't get my baby. I'll find some way to save him.
This for sure is how it
Hebrew
went
mother,
down.
baby Moses, tries to save him by hiding him in the bulrushes on the Nile River.
What's that? A baby!
When baby Moses is found by the princess daughter of the Egyptian pharaoh, the princess decides to raise him as her own son.
Because it wouldn't be obvious what happened, right?
Moses now has two mothers, a royal Egyptian princess mother and a non-royal Hebrew mother who hides her identity as Moses' Hebrew mother, gets a job as a servant at the palace, and helps the princess
Why are we here?
raise Moses.
Why are we here?
Why did the Bible omit the historical names of the Pharaoh's princess daughter and the Pharaoh? Their historical identities can be found by comparing the dates and events of the Bible story with factual Egyptian history. All dates followed by the letters BC count backwards to 0, which is the beginning of today's Christian calendar. Bible researchers have calculated the birth of Moses at around 1520 BC.
Bible researchers.
The ruling pharaoh of Egypt at that time was Thutmose I, and his princess daughter was Hatshepsut. Egyptian history verifies that Princess Hatshepsut married her brother named Pharaoh Thutmose II. But when Hatshepsut couldn't produce a male heir to the throne, her brother husband chose a non-royal mistress named Isis to produce a male heir and named their son Thutmose III. Hatshepsut raised the boy as her own son, even though Isis was his real birth mother.
Yeah, his real birth mother was a god, and this is fact. That's what we're saying here.
The Bible story of Moses closely matches the factual Egyptian story of
Factual.
Thutmose III. Even the names Moses and Thutmose are almost identical.
No, it's Thutmose. It's...
In the Bible story, Moses gives up his big chance to be the richest, most powerful ruler in the ancient world to become a lowly, poverty-stricken Hebrew laborer. But wouldn't becoming ruler of Egypt and Canaan have been the most intelligent way to help his fellow Hebrews? The historical facts show that's exactly what Thutmose III did. Once he grew up to become
Where are you getting Thutmose?
Pharaoh of
Or
Egypt,
Hetmoses? Where are you
Thutmose
getting
III
that?
organized military campaigns with his mighty armies and chariots and defeated the enemies of the Hebrew Hyksos
Did she say lady armies?
who had settled in Canaan. After his famous battle of Megiddo in Canaan in 1479 BC, Thutmose installed district governors in garrison cities throughout Canaan. Did Thutmose choose his district governors from the 12 Hebrew tribes named in the Bible?
You have no idea. You're just talking. You're just talking at this point.
Is it just a coincidence that today's Temple of Isis, located on the Isle of Philae in Egypt, has the same name as Thutmose's mother?
It's almost like she was either named after a god or was supposed to have been a god.
Some suggest that Thutmose III built the original Temple of Isis to honor his Hebrew mother, who was named after the goddess Isis, and that the temple was later restored by the Ptolemy kings. An inscription inside the temple identifies Isis as the mistress queen of Egypt. Today, Thutmose III is immortalized in stone in the corporate city-state of London, right next to his Egyptian obelisk, honoring the pagan Egyptian god Amun.
Yeah, it's almost like they like to show off their conquests, but whatever.
Why has UNESCO and others spent billions of dollars and years of labor moving the massive tonnage of the Isis temple and obelisks honoring the pagan god Amun? The answer lies within the continuing Bible story. After the Hebrews settled in the land of Canaan, they renamed it Israel. Their king, King David, reigned for 50 years. Egyptian history reveals that Pharaoh Susenes also ruled Canaan for nearly 50 years, at the same time as the biblical King David. Both battled the same enemy called the Sea People or Philistines.
We're just sourcing biblical stories now.
Both King David and Pharaoh Susenes had sons with almost identical names, Solomon and Simon. The name of biblical King David's son, Sol-Amon, means son for Saul, and O-M-O-N is an alternative spelling of Ammon. The name of Pharaoh Susenes' son, Si-Amon, means son of
Now you're just stretching.
Ammon. Simon and Solomon reigned at exactly the same time and fought the same enemies in Canaan called the Mitanni, the Hittites, and the Philistines. Pharaoh Simon's documented battle with the Philistines in Palestine and his capture of the Canaan city of Gezer clearly proves an ancient alliance between the Egyptians.
I love how they just never line up. It's always like, well, it was kind of in the same area, but it wasn't exactly, so it's close enough.
And the Hebrews. The famous King Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem means Temple of the Sun God Amun. According to the Talmud, King Solomon used the dark power of his magic ring to conjure up demons to help him build his temple.
Oh, good. We're back to the ring. Fantastic. Completely great.
The temple became the center for sexual orgies, the worship of golden idols, and for animal and human sacrifices, including the sacrifice of infants and children.
95% of ancient societies didn't do something like that.
The biblical Ark of the Covenant was stored inside King Solomon's temple. The Ark had 4 gold rings built into its 4 corners, each representing
Good night,
the
Lord
4
Belmont.
corners of the earth
I'll
over
see you
which
tomorrow.
descendants of the biblical Abraham are destined to rule. Since archaeologists claim the biblical King Solomon was no more real than the evil
We're just using Lord of the Rings footage now.
wizard Saruman from the movie Lord of the Rings, who built King Solomon's temple?
Aliens. Jews. 9/11. I don't know. I don't know
The
where we're
temple
going.
was most likely built by Pharaoh Simon, who
Uh-huh.
King Solomon's fabled character was based on.
Why though?
Today, all that remains of the temple is the Wailing Wall, where Israel's Jews still gather to worship in Jerusalem. Did the Hebrew authors of the Bible's Old Testament really expect readers to believe that Abraham lived to be 175? That his sister wife Sarah gave
You're gonna ignore Moses. We're just gonna ignore
birth at age 90? That Moses turned staffs into snakes and rivers into blood? Why did the Hebrew authors of the Bible omit all of the important historical names of Egyptian pharaohs?
Deceitful Jews.
Why did they mix up historical fact with myths and legends?
It was on purpose, obviously.
The big question is, what did they have to hide?
See?
Researchers of both Bible and Egyptian history have concluded that the Hebrew authors of the Bible covered up the fact that the Hebrews and the Egyptians shared the same royal bloodline. But why? Why the cover-up? Because after the Egyptian people forced the Hebrew Hyksos kings out of Egypt, the only way the Hebrews could continue ruling Egypt was to hide their Hebrew identity from the Egyptian people.
Like that should be possible. You just said earlier that the Egyptians ruled over them. They would know that these people were Hebrews.
They did that by changing their Hebrew names to Egyptian names and intermarrying with Egyptian royalty, just like the biblical Joseph did. By hiding their
So what you're gonna say now is that this has become the portent and pattern of the Jew, or what? Because you're making me uncomfortable. And I watch Nazi propaganda for fun.
Hebrew identity, the Hebrews continued to rule Egypt secretly as Egyptian royalty.
Yep, that's where we're fucking going. God damn it.
They worshipped Egyptian gods,
Yep, we're headed to Crypto Jew. God damn it.
followed Egyptian laws, and violated Jewish Hebrew laws. This meant they had to hide their Hebrew identity not just from the Egyptian people, but from the Hebrew people as well. They had to keep their royal Hebrew Egyptian identity and their worship of Amun hidden within royal power circles
Yep, that's what we're doing. Oh my god.
and secret societies, just as they have done to this day. The world's biggest and best kept secret is that the descendants of the Hebrew pharaohs of Egypt have ruled throughout history. Over the millennia, they have left oceans of blood in their wake. They have murdered, cheated, slaughtered, robbed, colonized, and enslaved to fulfill their biblical covenant for an eternal throne and one world empire.
Okay, that caught even me off guard. We're just gonna continue. Woo, lad. Woo, lad. Literally, the Jews are the worst thing ever, apparently. That's what this documentary is saying. Holy shit. Amazing. Fucking stellar. This is the most uncomfortable I've been in a while. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Jews are the worst and the Jews are everywhere. That's pretty much the theme of this film. Holy shit, I thought there was only one. Thank you, Jawa. Thank you for sending this to me, because this is precious. Yeah, this is fucking precious, dude. Now we've just got Jews and bacon slaves and Revolutionary War footage, and somehow this is all the Jews' fault. That's what we're saying here. I think the point of this is that the Jews did all that, which is really disquieting. Yes, that was Blackadder.
Today, Queen Elizabeth II is the head of state of the great nation of the Hebrew Covenant called Great Britain. The genealogy chart, according to the College of Heralds in London, traces her blue bloodline back to Abraham.
Oh, everyone has a theory on what blue blood means. Holy fuck.
And scholars believe to be the Egyptian pharaoh, Amenemhet I. By connecting 22 dots, the true Hebrew and royal Egyptian identity of Queen Elizabeth II comes into focus. Number 1. What is the Stone of Jacob, a Hebrew patriarch, doing beneath the Queen's throne chair? Number 2. Why was the Queen crowned at her coronation ceremony on top of a symbolic Egyptian?
See, if you're on top of a palisade of stairs, you're fucking obviously trying to be a pyramid.
Step pyramid.
Obviously.
Number 3. The monarch's crown has 12 stones at the base, each representing the 12 Hebrew tribes.
This is fucking
The 12
precious.
stones of the 12 tribes were also worn on the breastplate of Hebrew high priests in Canaan. Number 4. The Union Jack represents the reunion of the United Kingdom of the 12 tribes of Jacob, or Jacob. The Union Jack is red, white, and blue, the same colors as the 3 crowns of Egypt. Number 5. The royal scepter originates in ancient Egypt and was carried by the Egyptian god Amun and by Egyptian pharaohs, who called themselves the Son of God. The royal scepter is now carried by pharaonic descendant Queen Elizabeth II. Her scepter contains the world's largest cut diamond, called the Star of Africa.
And somehow now we're here.
Number 6. The Queen's punishing flail or whip is partially hidden under her arm.
Holy
the flail
fuck.
or whip also originates
They just
with
want the Queen of Egypt to be a pharaoh. Or the Queen of England to be a pharaoh. Why?
the pharaohs of ancient Egypt. Number 7. The symbol of the bee can be found within the Queen's royal wardrobe. In ancient Egypt, bees were the symbol of Egyptian royalty, as well as the symbol of Egypt. Number 8. The symbols on the British coat of arms reveal Britain's Hebrew origin. According to the Bible, the harp symbolizes the Hebrew King David. The biblical lion and unicorn holding up the shield symbolize the nation of Israel. The motto, Dieu et mon droit, means God and my right, indicating the divine right of the British monarch to an eternal throne.
Yes, that is what monarchs believe. What is your point?
Number 9. The headdress worn by judges and the Queen's high-ranking officials
Yeah, she's clearly not taking her meds.
originate in ancient Egypt.
I'm checking my Twitter. Trying to be courteous to other people as well, ladies and gentlemen.
Number 10. Kilts like the one worn by Prince Charles originate with the Egyptian pharaohs who wore white kilts. Number 11. The hymn, Zadok the Priest, written by Handel, was performed at the Queen's coronation in 1952. Zadok the Priest was the biblical priest who anointed the Hebrew King Solomon while the people cried, "God save King Solomon! Long live King Solomon! May the king live forever!"
Yeah, again, that's not new.
God save Queen Elizabeth. Long live Queen Elizabeth.
She's just not true. Okay, I don't know anything about that, so that's why I stayed quiet. I don't know.
May the Queen live forever.
Number 12. During the coronation ceremony, the Queen turns to face the four corners of the globe. The orb carried by the Queen represents the globe over which the monarch rules.
Yes, I can buy into that, sure. I don't know if it's true, but sure.
Number 13. The monarch's coronation gifts of a rod, bracelets, and a ring are a reenactment of the Bible story of the Hebrews, Judah, and Tamar.
That might even be true, but that's because all monarchies have based, in history, all kings really have based their rulership on some form of a god, so yeah.
Number 14. Royal jubilees originate in ancient Egypt. Egyptian pharaohs celebrated their jubilees after 30 years of rule. In pharaonic tradition, the Queen has celebrated both silver and golden jubilees.
So does the Catholic Church. What's your point?
Number 15. Incest was practiced by ancient Egyptian royalty.
And modern Muslim everything.
Mothers married sons and brothers married sisters to
Well, they just cycle cousins, so you know.
keep the power and the money all in the family. Like their pharaonic ancestors, the British monarchy have a long history of incestuous inbreeding. Number 16. The corpses of deceased pharaohs were preserved and entombed beneath their pyramid temples. The corpses of 19 deceased British monarchs are also preserved in marble tomb slabs beneath the modern-day temple called Westminster Abbey.
Of course.
Number 17. The ancient pharaohs advertised their power with their image on coins and stone monuments. The power of the Queen worldwide.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of coinage in ancient Egypt, man. But okay.
Wide is advertised with her image printed on more coins and stamps than any other head of state in history. Number 18. The structure of government in ancient Egypt was a step pyramid model, with the Grand Vizier and priesthood one step below the pharaoh.
Awesome.
Today's monarchy reigns using a much more sophisticated pyramid model of authority.
Not really. All authority looks like that idiot. This isn't new. It's pretty standard. The round table. Check that out. Look at these crazy people charts.
Number 19. The Pope's headdress is strikingly similar to the headdress of the Egyptian god Amun. His bent cross resembles the
Dead
scepter
slaves.
of Amun. Number 20. Like the Egyptian pharaohs, British monarchs wear signet rings, which over the millennia have been passed down
Oh,
from
the
their
ring of
Hebrew
power.
ancestors. Number 21. The British Mint recently printed legal tender coins called the One True Ring and the Ring of Power. On one side of the coin is Queen Elizabeth II.
Yes.
On the flip side is the ring from Lord of the Rings. These legal tender coins printed by the British Mint raise the disturbing question, who is the real Lord of the Rings?
Oh, precious. even know if that's true, but fuck.
The inscription on the ring reads, "One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness of their ignorance, find
That's not the line.
them." Number 22. The covenant that the biblical God gave to Abraham was a promise to make his name great and to make for him a great nation. Today, Great Britain is the only nation called great. In Hebrew, the word Britain literally means land of the covenant, and British means man of the covenant.
I have no idea if that's even remotely true, so...
How on earth did the Hebrew throne of ancient Egypt and Canaan end up in Great Britain under Queen Elizabeth II? Historically, a series of powerful invaders, the Philistines, Assyrians, Babylonians, and Persians, conquered the land of Canaan, which the Hebrews called Israel. The Hebrew tribes of Manasseh and Dan joined forces and became the Macedonians, or Macedonians.
The Macedonians are northern fucking Greek. Stop. Fucking stop.
They fled to Greece with their gold and their riches. They wore white kilts like the Egyptian pharaohs, played goatskin bagpipes, adopted the Greek culture, and settled along the river Danube, which they named after the tribe of Dan. By 322 BC, their leader, Alexander the Great, reconquered Egypt and appointed his general, Ptolemy I, as the new Hebrew pharaoh of Egypt.
I thought this wasn't gonna get good. No, I was wrong. This got very good. What the actual
Cleopatra was the
fuck?
last in a succession of Hebrew Ptolemy kings.
No.
Although Cleopatra is considered to be the last of the Egyptian pharaohs, author Ralph Ellis claims that Jesus was the
Of
last
course.
of the Hebrew pharaohs of Egypt. Jesus, a pharaoh? How is that possible? The historical facts show that the last pharaoh of Egypt was Ptolemy XV, who was nicknamed Caesarion or Little Caesar.
Okay. Do you not see that even if that's true, it speaks to the fact that Caesar had well surpassed him by that point?
47 BC, Caesarion was the son of two of the most famous parents in world history, Roman ruler Julius Caesar and Egyptian pharaoh Cleopatra. When Caesarion's mother, Cleopatra, proclaimed herself to be the reincarnation of the virgin goddess Isis,
Sure.
Caesarion became the son of a virgin mother goddess.
Of course.
When Caesarion's father, Julius Caesar, was elevated to the status of god by the Roman Senate, Caesarion was recognized
You realize these are the same claims most of these people made, right? This isn't new.
as the son of God and heir to God's kingdom, the Roman Empire. Caesarion was also recognized as the son of God in Egypt, after his mother named him co-ruling pharaoh of Egypt.
They were pretty much all gods.
Cleopatra declared Caesarion to be the king of kings at the age of 13 during the donations of Alexandria ceremony in 34 BC.
Oh my god.
The face of history suddenly changed when Caesarion's father, Julius Caesar, was stabbed to death by his most trusted men.
Holy fuck. How are we here? How did this happen from this 9/11 documentary? How are we here?
Octavian, the adopted son of Julius Caesar, swiftly seized power as the new Roman emperor. After Caesar's death, Cleopatra became romantically involved with a married commander from Caesar's army named Mark Antony.
Yes.
Mark Antony and Cleopatra
What's with the
carried
half-shaved
3
head kid?
children, a twin boy and girl, followed by a second boy. Since Caesarion was Julius Caesar's son and the rightful heir to the Roman Empire, Cleopatra feared for his safety. When Octavian's mighty Roman army invaded Egypt, Cleopatra arranged for Caesarion's safe passage out of Egypt with her most trusted servants. Historians confirm that Cleopatra sent Caesarion to India. There are no historical records of Caesarion's fate, despite false rumors of his capture. Cleopatra's trusted servants who traveled with Caesarion became the boy's parent guardians. But
So, this is the actual story of Jesus. That's where we are now. We're watching Jesus.
who exactly were these parent guardians who Cleopatra entrusted her son to? Were their names Mary and Joseph by any chance?
Yeah.
While Caesarion fled from Egypt with his parent guardians, Cleopatra and Mark Antony's 3 children were placed in the care of Mark Antony's wife. After suffering a crushing defeat
Yes, Caesarion is Jesus.
against Octavian's invading Roman army, Mark Antony committed suicide by falling on his own sword.
Uh-huh.
The devastated Cleopatra also committed suicide by a self-inflicted poisonous snake bite.
That is how the mythos goes, yes.
While traveling undercover through Egypt with his parent guardians, Caesarion was forced to hide his identity and change his name.
To Jesus.
The Egyptian name for Jesus is Isu, which means the son of Isis.
Oh my
It can
God.
be found in Egyptian hieroglyphics.
How is that the Egyptian word for Jesus, which is a title?
Matthew 2, verses 13 and 14
Oh, I for sure downloaded the right thing.
of the Bible
Even if I didn't, this is the right thing.
tell a parallel story of the young child Jesus and his mother fleeing into Egypt with Joseph under the cover of night.
In the year 1887, a book was published in Russia which rocked the Christian world. It was vilified and condemned. It was called The Unknown Life of Jesus Christ.
Fair enough.
The writer, Nicholas Notovich, was a respected journalist.
What does that mean?
Notovich claimed his book was a factual report of a trip he made to the Himalayan mountains in remote northern India.
Oh God, oh God, oh God, no. Jesus was a Buddhist monk.
Notovich may well have been the first outsider to make his way to Hemis, an isolated Buddhist monastery hidden high in the Asian mountaintops.
Sure.
Gaining the confidence of an elderly monk, he was shown ancient scrolls which tell the story of a scholar and prophet named Issa. In these secret records, Issa is described as a foreigner from a small Mediterranean country.
Yeah.
The stranger arrived in India as a teenage boy to study the teachings of the Buddha.
Of course.
And according to the scroll,
this is actually a conspiracy / potential historical fact / I don't know, cultural influence of Christianity that I've actually subscribed to. Because in one of the Dead Sea Scrolls it is described that Egypt goes to the east and comes back with his portent of knowledge. And then his teachings become very much Buddhist style, as opposed to what we would describe as Judeo-Christian, but now we have this. It sucks when my beliefs are overlapping with conspiracy theorists. I have to deal with that. And goodbye, Mast. I guess you're going to sleep.
He lived here 500 years after the prophet Buddha died, a time that coincides exactly with the lost years of Jesus.
See?
Nicholas Notovich was convinced that Issa was Jesus of Nazareth.
Sure.
And that he carried back to his homeland the principles of Buddhism.
But you see how this theory that you're presenting doesn't line up with the concept that he was the son of a pharaoh, right?
Half a century after Notovich was in Hemis in 1902, a Hindu priest sought refuge in the same remote Indian monastery. He too translated the scrolls and published a work. His translation verifies the work of Notovich.
Ancient writings do exist from both Persia as well as India.
Yeah.
That Jesus did indeed travel to India.
I actually don't doubt that, but it means nothing.
But we do not have 100% proof that he was there. The proof, however, does lie in his teachings when compared to sacred Buddhist writings.
When you compare Christianity as given strictly by Jesus in the New Testament as opposed to Judaism, which he was raised under, they're almost entirely unrelated. I have to admit that. And that it leans more towards the concept of Buddhism.
The authenticated ancient scrolls found at the Hemis Monastery near Leh in Kashmir document the life of Saint Isa, leaving home at the age of 13, joining a merchant caravan, traveling the Silk Route, and arriving in India at the age of 14. The Egyptian word for Jesus is Isu. The Greek word is Iesus, and the Arabic word for Jesus is Isa. Isa continued his travels through India.
Then how is that not tertially related to Esau? Seriously, how are these not at least somewhat related?
And Tibet and the holy cities, where Brahmin priests taught him to read.
No, Jesus was probably a person, Joshua ben Joseph, more than likely. That's not strictly relevant to the concept that some guy who then got the title of Jesus Christ, which isn't a name, but a title, actually did go to India and come back. It's possible.
And understand the Vedas. He learned Pali and studied the sacred sutras and how to cure by aid of prayer. He began teaching, performing miracles, and explaining the holy scriptures in monasteries and market bazaars. As an adult, Isa finally left India and Tibet and traveled to Alexandria, Egypt. Why Alexandria? Because that's
where the fucking Christian population was.
Where Isa, whose previous name was Caesarion, grew up.
No.
That's where he last saw his mother, Cleopatra, alive. Isa spent 3 years in Egypt before searching for his younger half-sister and 2 younger half-brothers fathered by Mark Antony. They had inherited land in Syria. Despite false rumors of their early deaths, historians confirm that Caesarion and his 2 half-brothers mysteriously vanished from the historical record.
Fantastic.
Did they really vanish, or did they just reappear in the biblical record? According to the Bible, 2 of Jesus' 12 disciples were named James and Thomas. The Bible identifies James and Thomas as full brothers. Jesus, on the other hand, is identified as their half-brother.
Yes, Jesus was Cleopatra's son, according to this theology, yeah.
Thomas is not only identified as Jesus' younger half-brother, he is also called Jesus' twin. But how could Thomas possibly be Jesus' younger half-brother and his twin at the same time?
It's a good question.
The historical records show that Cleopatra had 3 children fathered by Mark Antony. 2 of them were a twin boy and girl. Isa Caesarion clearly had a younger half-brother who is also a twin. At the scene of the crucifixion, there were 2 Marys present. One was Mary of Bithynia. When Roman Emperor Octavian invaded Egypt, Cleopatra sent her 13-year-old son Caesarion.
Seriously, you don't have to shout over the fucking music. Just turn it down. God damn.
To India with Mary of Bithynia and Mary's wealthy uncle-husband named Joseph of Arimathea. Since Caesarion was the true heir to the Roman Empire, Emperor Octavian wanted him killed. Mary and Joseph became Caesarion's adoptive parents and later his loyal disciples.
The second Mary present at the crucifixion was Jesus' younger half-sister, Mary Magdalene.
Oh, now she's his half-sister. That's what we're doing with this. Alright, fair enough.
Whose birth name was Celine. She is also identified in the Bible as
Hey, wait. Wait a minute now.
Mary of Cleopas, meaning Mary of Cleopatra. Celine was the orphan daughter of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, who both committed suicide. After being captured by Emperor Octavian, Celine was raised in Octavian's royal household with her two brothers and with Octavian's son, Tiberius, who became the next Roman emperor. They were raised together by the emperor's sister, Octavia.
You're just putting this onto history. It isn't even related, as you've just proven there.
Celine eventually married and became the queen
Stop saying my name is related to a female. It's obnoxious.
of Mauritania. Like her mother Cleopatra, Celine wore the headdress of the goddess Isis. Celine's half-brother Caesarion finally returned to Egypt after 17 years in hiding. He searched for Celine and found her. He was now called Jesus Christ, a name with the same initials as his father, JC, for Julius Caesar.
Of course.
He told Celine about
JC
his
means
plan
Julius
to capture
Caesar.
his father's kingdom, the Roman Empire, which Emperor Octavian had stolen from him. He told her he would capture it not with weapons and armies, but by creating a new religion and transforming the Roman Empire into the Holy Roman Empire.
Oh, good.
He told her he
Yes, it does. It means calm.
would capture it not with weapons and armies, but by creating a new religion and transforming the Roman Empire into the Holy Roman Empire. Celine agreed to join her brother's spiritual revolution.
Or not.
She changed her
How?
name from Celine to
How?
Magdalene
How?
by
Why?
adding the word Magda to her name, which means high place in Hebrew.
So just high place now. Alright.
Jesus Caesarion also searched for and found his two half-brothers.
Why
One
are
of
they
whom
all half-brothers? Is it just all half-brothers?
was Celine's twin. His nickname was Thomas Didymus, which means twin in Greek and Hebrew.
Of course it does.
17 years after her suicide, Cleopatra's 4 children were all reunited again.
Beautiful.
Why are the pages of the Bible silent about where Jesus was and what he did for 17 years from the age of 13 to 30?
Perhaps the most unusual legend of the missing years recounts a journey that would have taken...
Why the fuck are we here? We're 1 hour and 47 minutes into a 4 hour and 39 minute documentary, and I use that word loosely, about 9/11. Why are we here? Why are we giving the history of the fucking Bible? Why?
Jesus thousands of miles from Nazareth. He would have traveled across 2 seas to England, a land whose history would become intertwined with Christian mythology.
Egypt and England, oh my god. Because they lie about
In
being
southern
related to the...
England, in
Jesus
Cornwall,
Christ.
Villagers speak of Jesus having once walked here. Beneath these rolling meadows, the earth is laced with tin. 2,000 years ago, the story goes, the gospel character Joseph of Arimathea came to England to trade for the precious metal.
Obviously.
And
Obviously
according to the
Joseph of
legend,
Arimathea came to
he brought
England.
with
Yeah.
him his nephew, Jesus of Nazareth.
Yeah, obviously. Jesus was in England.
At that time, ancient England was inhabited by the pagan Celts.
Yeah.
Their religious leaders, the Druids, believed they were descended from a divine being. They also believed in an immortal soul. Some people in these valleys speculate that the Druids adapted their pagan religion to Christianity, not because they had heard stories of the Messiah,
But because they had met Jesus himself.
but because they had seen him.
See?
However, most scholars believe that it was the conquering Romans who arrived 2 centuries later who would convert the Druids to Christianity by persuasion and genocide.
Then why didn't Jesus being there do anything, really?
Since they were first found in a desert cave in 1947, the Dead Sea Scrolls have fueled speculation about the life of Jesus. Was he a member of the religious community which wrote the scrolls? They were found at Qumran, an easy walk from the very spot where it is said Jesus was baptized by John.
Obviously.
The scrolls detail the beliefs of a Jewish sect called the Essenes, a group that flourished during the lifetime of Jesus. The beliefs of the Essenes often seem to mirror the teachings of Jesus.
Well, as should Christians, you'd imagine, but, you know. No, Jesus wasn't a mushroom. He did mushrooms, hence water into wine.
Jesus' band of revolutionaries included not only the Essenes, but a violent Hebrew terrorist group called the Zealots, who evolved
The
into
Zealots.
today's Zionists.
We're going to a wedding.
Oh, you sent me Monkey Blood, and we'll watch it after this. I like the B-rate documentaries more than the high-end ones. Oh yeah, they note that it's just called the Zealots and ignore the Syrians, which were the guys that daggered Romans, but you know.
There is speculation that Jesus married his half-sister, Mary Magdalene.
Good.
The Bible describes a wedding party in which Jesus uses his godly powers to magically turn water into wine
Yes.
for the party guests.
Of course.
Why did the Bible fail to name the names of the bride and groom at the wedding party? Is it because the names of the bride and groom were Jesus and Mary Magdalene? Since Jesus Caesarean learned the art of healing and meditation in India, and since he was provided with a foot support to stand on the cross, and since he was taken down from the cross after only 6 hours...
Here we go. Jesus didn't die on the cross. He Buddhist meditated and then they let him go.
And since he was treated with expensive royal healing oils, did he survive the wounds of his
See?
crucifixion?
Here we go.
Since Jesus and his wealthy Hebrew relatives all knew about Jesus' arrest and crucifixion in advance, was it planned, along with stories of his resurrection, to convert the Roman Empire into the Holy Roman Empire?
My daughter, my daughter.
Like his father Julius Caesar, who was officially elevated to the status of God, Jesus Caesarion was not only elevated to the status of God, he recaptured his father's kingdom and expanded the Holy Hebrew Empire all the way
The
to
Holy
Great Britain
Hebrew
and the United
Empire.
States of America.
What then, little king?
Fantastic. Okay, I will be just one moment. I have... And we're back.
A review of royal genealogy
I had to grab
charts
another beer,
confirms
sorry.
that today, Israel, Great Britain, and the United States are all ruled by descendants of the Hebrew tribes of Israel. The big question is, if Caesarion was born in 47 BC, how could Caesarion possibly be Jesus?
Good question.
Jesus was born in the year 0.
You would
wasn't
think.
he?
You would think, if the
To
Jews
begin
weren't
with,
lying.
The year 0 does not exist on today's Gregorian Christian calendar, which jumps from 1 BC to 1 AD. Experts confirm a 7-year error was made in converting from the Egyptian to the Roman to the Christian calendar.
Well, that clears that all up.
The only way to calculate Jesus' real age is from a Bible quote which states that Jesus was baptized in the 15th year of the reign of Emperor Tiberius. Since Tiberius grew up in Octavia's royal household with Caesarion's half-sister and brothers, that means Caesarion was very close in age to Tiberius, who was born in 3 BC. By comparing important dates in the Jewish, Muslim, and Christian holy books, there is a margin of error of at least 30 years. So what proof is there that Caesarion's half-sister Celine is in fact Mary Magdalene? They were both wealthy, they both shared the same names, they were both Hebrew, and they both lived in the same place at the same time under the same Roman rulers.
Yeah, there's nothing about this that's accurate, guys. Sorry. Yeah.
The most convincing proof lies in a famous New York statue. The Statue of Liberty was
How are we
built and
here
delivered
now?
to New York Harbor as a gift from the French Grand Orient Temple Masons
Uh-huh.
in 1886.
Oh, good.
With a commemorative plaque for all to see. The statue has nothing whatsoever to do with liberty.
At all.
Its designer was French Freemason Frederick Auguste Bartholdi, who traveled extensively throughout Egypt.
Uh-huh.
Bartholdi was silent about who the woman was that served as his inspiration for the statue. But there is only one woman whose face closely matches the uniquely masculine features of the Statue of Liberty. Caesarion's half-sister, Celine.
For sure it wasn't his mother.
Bartholdi used the ancient busts and minted coins of Cleopatra Celine as his models in designing the Statue of Liberty. By comparing a digitized photograph of the Statue of Liberty with
Honestly, does anyone else feel like they're getting mental whiplash from the gear shifts this lady does, or is it just me?
the bust of Cleopatra Celine, the matching identity of Mary Magdalene and Celine becomes clear. The lips, the mouth, the sharp jaw, the thick neck,
They don't look anything
the
alike
protruding ears,
at all.
the prominent nose,
They don't look anything
and
alike
the
at all.
masculine features are a close match.
Not even kinda, you disingenuous cunt.
An ancient minted coin of Cleopatra Celine reveals that even her hairstyle and hair tie ribbons are an identical match with the Statue of Liberty's hairstyle and ribbons.
Nope.
The Statue of Liberty was intentionally designed to appear pregnant beneath the folds of her robe. The implication is that Mary Magdalene had children. Their names were Tamar and Jesus the Justice, whom the Merovingians, British royalty, and elite Brotherhood of Freemasons
You see how it's on
claimed to
top
be
of a
descendants
pyramid or
of.
something? You see? Fucking on top of a pyramid, it's a woman, it's a statue, obviously it's Celine.
With the blur of confusing Judases, Thomases, Jameses, Marys, and Josephs found in the Bible, many researchers have been challenged by the Bible's name game and its who's who mysteries.
Well, by challenged you
One way
mean
of
they can't
decoding the
find any
Bible
shit,
is to
right?
profile the main cast of characters and create a royal genealogy chart. The connection between the lives of the main Bible characters and the lives of real historical figures line up like answers in a crossword puzzle. Far from being poor and uneducated, Jesus' inner circle of family and disciples were well-educated and well-off descendants of royalty. The disciple called Nicodemus of Bethany was indeed
the son of Nicomedes IV of Bithynia. Joseph of Arimathea was in reality Joseph of Judea, an extremely wealthy tin merchant and descendant of King Zedekiah and Mattathias.
Even if this is true, does it or does it not actually prove that Jesus is found a gathering of wealthy people to promote his name? I mean, that's...
The Virgin Mary of Bethany was in reality Mary of Bithynia and wife of her rich uncle, Joseph of Judea.
I've never heard this particular narrative before, so I'm not prepared to counter it, guys.
Mary
I'm sorry.
Magdalene, Jesus of Nazareth, Thomas, and James were the wealthy royal offspring of Hebrew-Egyptian Ptolemy queen
I mean, they're just saying this. There's no proof whatsoever here.
Cleopatra
But...
VII. Why did the Bible alter and even omit key historical names and dates?
'Cause they was black. Oh wait, wrong documentary. My bad.
To cover up the real Hebrew identities of the royal ruling families of Egypt and the Holy Roman Empire, whose secret religion was and still is the cult of Amun. Why in the world did first century Jews living at the time of Jesus threaten to punish by death anyone who dared to copy, sculpt, or draw the face of Jesus and his graven image?
Allahu Akbar!
What were they afraid of? Were they afraid perhaps he might be recognized for who he really was?
The music is deafening, and I'm sorry to everyone. Yeah, no. Let's all remember, this is about 9/11. Never forget. Somehow we're at a fight scene. I don't know. Nope! You know what? I think we're done with the movie. We are going to continue this next Sunday. I have exactly 2 hours and 30 minutes left in it, and I've been streaming for 3. So I think we're probably going to stop here. I think it's been long enough. I think it's been 2 hours of this, and I will start at this chapter. I am getting no's. Am I? Okay. I can continue this next week, or do you want If you guys had some idea where the next chapter was, I might continue. If you could tell me this was like another 10 minutes, I might do that, but I honestly don't know. What do you think? How much longer is it? Alright, free me from my cage, and I will continue this next week. I'm thinking of making this more regular even than once a week, because I have a lot more fun doing this than I do inherently doing my videos. So I'll catch you guys next week or whenever I do it again. So what do you guys think? Should I do this more frequently? Is this a good time for you guys? Because I could just do this. I watch these shitty movies anyway. I do. I sincerely watch this garbage anyway. So I can just stream it instead of watching it alone. I can do that. So I'll do this more frequently if you guys have fun with them. But yeah, this was a good time. Honestly, thanks for being here, guys. if it weren't for the chat, I'd just be a lunatic screaming at himself. So now it's me and 30 people or so. And I'll do it earlier. Yeah, I can do it earlier as well. Please send me bad YouTube documentaries en masse, as many as you can. Just send them all to me, and I will watch them because I am greatly amused by them. In all sincerity, like sometimes they're frustrating, but they're sincerely amusing. So, thanks for being here, guys. It's been good fun. I'm going to cut this off, and I will catch up with you guys later. Send me videos. My email is attached to both my Twitter and my YouTube page. That'd be the place to send the videos, because it's the place I check most frequently and with the most dedication, because otherwise, you know, Twitter gets full. So, thanks, guys. I love y'all. You guys have a good night, and I'll catch you later. Bye!